now. Holy shit, folks.
I always remind people, I am suspended for life for minor hockey.
It's my duty to please the booty.
Did you catch a rattlesnake and then drive home with it in your car holding it the whole time?
Yep.
Phil only drinks Coke. He doesn't drink water. I'll fucking quit.
Fugazis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 437 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. Hail, the gang's all here at Borrellis on Long Island after a terrific weekend. FDNY beat the NYPD 8-5. Mr. G helped put this thing together a year and a half ago, pal. What a splendiferous weekend we had.
We did it, boys. That's really all I can say.
That was such a fun experience.
It was so much fun. Was it not everything I told you it was going to be?
It was everything and more. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very stressful putting it together and getting all hands on deck. But you guys and Barstool and why don't you start out how the idea all started? And it started out with you guys coming to last year's game.
Before that, there's something.
Yeah,
really?
so actually,
Didn't you text Erica or something?
Yeah, so I shot. So when I was,
did we explain it was the FDNY NYPD game yet? Have we said those words?
No, we haven't talked about that at all leading up to it.
Well, did you use those words?
I just gave the score. Yep.
I was in my own head. I'm sorry,
but
guys.
I'm used to it.
So how it went was 2000 when they did the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 game. They broadcasted it on ESPN. I was watching it. MSG was packed. I thought it was such a good broadcast. This was also during the pandemic when there was no hockey going on. So I texted Sean and I sent two texts. I texted Sean and I said, I think we should film a documentary about this. And I texted Erica Nardini and I said, are you watching this right now? Like, we could do this. Like, we could make this ours. And a year and a half later, we put on the broadcast, and it was a crazy ride. I mean, especially with the documentary. Shauno did an awesome job on that, but it's been crazy. I can't believe we did it last night.
So who ended up deciding that it was okay for us to do it? You had to contact FDNY.
So then we went to the game last year, and that's when we decided to start filming the documentary, and the rights wasn't even something we thought of. We thought ESPN was potentially going to be broadcasting the game again, so when we went, I start talking to some of the guys, and I'm like, where's the TV truck? Like, why aren't you guys doing an interview? Who's mic'd up? And he's like, no one's broadcasting it this year. I think, like, the Islanders might be, but no one's broadcasting it. And this was the conversation I had with Jimmy Hall, who put on a show last night. Gotta give it to him.
What a scrap.
But Jimmy said, he's like, no one has the rights to this game. Like, and I'm like, can we take it? And right away, said it to Sean, said it to Brandon Mims, shot a text to Mimsy right away, and he got on it. He hit up Erica, and I think they started moving on it. And like I said, yeah, a year later, we put on the game.
I didn't realize how big of a production this was going to be. And then throughout the entire day, I would say it was seamless. Like, at no point did a microphone not work. At no point was there like a breakdown in communications, which for Barstool, usually it's the Barstool effect. You got guys who are like drunks trying to do something.
Well, that was, the old ways for sure.
Yeah,
the
now
Barstool
all
difference.
of a sudden we were just... Biz, you said it was kind of like when you do TNT games.
Yeah.
It was similar to the way you go about talking to the producer in the headset and going throughout the whole day, and it was fantastic. It blew me away.
And they've had a couple practice rounds at this. They did the Arizona Bowl. Mm-hmm. Did they also? Was it the same crew that did the mini putt?
It was, yeah. Some of the guys in the truck were talking about.
Yeah, we had a live mini putt at Super Bowl.
I watched that. That was crazy.
I mean, it was crazy. They were
That'd be hard to do.
Live updates, the score we're updating, and then of course this broadcast, and also the Barstool engine as well from a social media team perspective.
That's crazy.
How quick they're getting out all these clips, and then of course the big viral ones were how the game ended. I don't know if we're going to get there yet, but
there's so many elements too, though. Like the events team having food for us at all times, like the sales team having Muggsy waiting for us, and Pink Whitney and Waters and the bat everywhere we go, and there's just so many people to thank, and it was just
endless.
Not to be that
like
guy.
100 people to thank.
Yeah.
Not to be that guy, but one time at the end of one of these, I need a car ready to
ride. Yeah.
One time.
It's like that's like the one thing that everybody forgets.
Everyone at home probably
we
thinks I'm the biggest baby, wine and witty. Every time we finish stuff, we walk miles and wait hours for Uber. So just want a car wait.
Hey, we saw a massive Donnybrook at some point.
Oh yeah. So here's my thing with UBS Arena, and it is a beautiful. Inside they did a perfect job. I love the rink. But it is surrounded by the racetrack, Belmont Racetrack, and highways. And I went to the Keith Yandel game when he broke the Ironman streak last year, and You walk out, you got to walk to the Uber. Well, there's nowhere to go in. There's no bars. If I owned land, or I know we're at Borrellis right now, but you almost have to try to get a restaurant or a bar around that area to have people somewhere to go. Well, everyone's loaded, and you go wait at the Ubers. Next thing you look, you know, we're standing next to a full-on brawl. I'm going to say that was like a 3-on-3.
No
and
way.
Oh, it was outnumbered. It was like
Yeah,
worse.
it was.
It was
It
like
was.
5-on-3.
It was.
So it was like getting greasy.
So there's like, it looked like a big crew of people. They're all trying to break it up. And Biz is on the phone. He's over there walking around. He sees it. He goes,
He's doing play-by-play.
He goes bombing it. He's like, stop fight. And I was like, you couldn't pay me money to get in the middle. I'm not getting killed trying to break up a bunch of random strangers throwing knucks. But Biz ended up, he's like, okay, I'm not breaking this one up.
No, they were very persistent, so I got the fuck out of the way.
But yeah, it was a great experience, man. I interrupted.
A lot of
somebody.
fights during the game too, though.
Yeah.
How about those? Wow. Peretta.
Oh, man.
Let's get into the game. So awful start for NYPD. I was so invested early on with these storylines going into, and then FDNY as advertised up 4-0. I thought it was going to be a rout, but the inspiring performance of Dan O'Donohue, he fucking put that team on his back and let him back. He was fucking taunting the bench, and when they're down 4-0, they
was
needed
awesome.
something to rout.
We're down 4-1.
He shushed the 80% crowd of FDNY. You got to have some balls to be down 4-0 and shushing not only the crowd, but then he went right over the bench. And Whit, you did an excellent job between the benches, and you got
Appreciate
the
that,
whole
man.
sight line, and then he came off the ice, and then he was still yelling at the other side.
Yeah, he's like, shut the fuck up. You shut your mouth. And I think there was one guy. He knows the team very well. And he was one guy, I don't know, he's like, who the fuck are you? I think there was kind of a no-name on FDNY that was chirping at him. And he's the big dog for PD. So that got the team going. All of a sudden, they were in the mix again. But it was the start that completely crushed them. I didn't understand. The depth is not equal right now, right? At FDNY, they have just like kind of 2-3 lines and a couple more defense, where NYPD's top heavy. They got their top line, couple D-men, but
They're younger, too. Like, they got younger
FDNY
guys.
is younger.
I went to both practices, and I'm like, okay, FDNY is going to pump these guys. Like, NYPD just looks slower. They were way better actors, though, naturally, in the commercials that we did, the Nobody Out Pizzas, the Hut.
And quickly,
they were easy to work with. The FDNY guys, maybe not so much, but they were also snapping around, skating a lot better. That's why I said going in, I'm like, this is going to be a dummy fest. But
hold on, if you didn't get to watch, you'll be able to go back and watch. We're going to upload it. I think G said in the next day or so.
Yeah, by the time this podcast goes up, it will be up on our YouTube
So you
page.
get to hear Jake Mars and Biz on the call. I was down between the
With
benches.
the Biz cam.
We threw to the Merle's interviewing the captains before. RA was in the stands with people. It was actually a full team effort. Army did interviews after and was doing the intermission shows. So it
Big
was
Cat too. We had
Big Cat
on
with
the
Big
call.
yeah. Thanks to Big Cat. So I think
Rico Bosco was kicking
even if
around.
you know the
mush
score
man,
now,
the mush man Rico.
I think most people listening would have a good time going and at least checking out parts of the broadcast when we upload it. So,
And I have to say, the thing that they did that was so cool about the broadcast was like, yes, it was the game, and yes, it was this tradition, but like just broadcasting it, they gave you that broadcast in the game, but they also give you like all the characters. Like, I thought it was so cool how they integrated everyone, like all of us knuckleheads to like.
Rico Bosco,
just the way
handing
they
out
showed you
pizza.
while you were calling the game during intense moments. Like when you watch that, you're gonna love seeing Biz losing his mind. Did you know the camera was on you? You were just in the game.
Well, at a certain point, they started saying, yeah, look up to this cam, because we were doing stuff on the fly. Originally, it was a cam that was across the ice that was shining over at us.
But they would do like a 2-box of you and Marshy.
Yeah, but
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, but I was so invested in the game, and that's why early on you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little disappointed because I'm like, I don't want this game to be 10-0.
That's a bit
because we have the broadcast. That's why I was so grateful for Dan O'Donohue scoring that goal to make it 4-1 and then shushing, because I felt like it gave NYPD life, and then that's when they started showing that resilience and storm back to the point where it became 6-5. There were some fights in between. There were some massive hits, and the pace got a little bit slower because I think both teams ran out of gas, because these guys are wound up at like 2 in the afternoon coming in. NYPD, did they kick you out of the room, or did FDNY?
Oh yeah, FDNY. When I walked in, they heard
I was there.
rooting
I was
for the
like, oh,
police.
shit.
See, I wanted the police to win just because I knew they haven't won in 5 years.
That's
the
who I picked,
the
just to
celebration
see
would
it
have been
change.
crazy. I'm a producer at the end of the day.
It was still fucking crazy in the FDNY
It was
room.
crazy, but I mean, imagine a win when they haven't won in 5 years. They would have went fucking bananas.
Yeah, they would have popped their logo.
So I don't know which guy that was, but I was with G when this happened. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, my face went ghost white. So I walked into the locker room, me and Colby, right as all the guys are walking in with their bags, and see Peretta right away. He daps me up. Not as friendly as he'd normally be, though. And then one of the other guys, I forget his name off the top of my head, goes, "Hey, you can't be in here." And I'm like, "What? Like, why?" And he's like, "We know who you're rooting for. We know you're on the police side. You can't be in here." And I'm
they
like,
probably watched a TikTok or
I'm like,
something.
"Oh, good one."
Yeah.
I look at Colby, and
like-
Colby's dead, like. And
He
I'm
was like walking towards you, and you said it.
Yeah.
You said it like he came right towards you. He's like, "Why are you in here?"
Yeah.
We went in after. Army Admirals had brought in Pink Whitney to the
That was after the game.
FDNY, and then I went in after just to say thanks with Biz. Thanks for letting us, be a part of this. We walk in. The coach is in the middle. He chugged at least half a bottle of Pink Whitney. He must be so hungover
Oh, yeah.
right now.
He's over the
Animal.
toilet.
But Grinelli was in with us then too, and one of the kids goes, "Get the fuck out of here, Grinelli!" Again after the game. I'm like, "Oh, boy."
They basically told me the only way I could stay is if I chugged the Pink Whitney bottle. So I'm like, just funneling Pink Whitney just so they don't kick
in
my
a room
ass.
full of firefighters, he could have been on fire and nobody would.
Buddy, the funniest thing ever, though, that kid
bolts.
bolts up to him pregame. They just get to the rink. We're in there talking to some guys. That guy says that to you. Like, it was like the record fell off at the bar, And he stops and I could tell you were on your heels right away because I was like, "Oh shit!" And then he just kept staring at you.
I don't do well with confrontation.
No, and me neither. I was like, I got your back though, G. He was like, he wasn't a big guy, but then he's like, you recovered well. You're like, after it was like it felt like forever though. You're like, where did you hear that from? And then the guy just stared at you. He's like, we know, get out of here. Like calm as shit, and you were like, okay, all right, ha 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 ha. And then we like left out of there. As soon as we went out of the room, I'm like, dude, I had your back, I swear.
Well, then
That
I was
great.
walking down the hall later, and I saw the police as they're walking, and I'm like, "I got you, boys. Let's go. I'm riding the blue." Of course, I'm right next to the fire locker room. The door's wide open.
Same guy standing there.
I hear Peretta in the back. "Fuck you, Grinelli."
Oh,
God.
you're on the shit list, and
But
you don't
that's the
want
heat
you don't
of
want
the
to be
game.
on that guy's shit list.
No,
so the end of
they
the-
were happy at the end of the game, though.
So
I
the-
talked
yeah.
to them. They were happy. They love me.
Before we go any further, you know what I'm here for, and that's to bring up my love and passion. New Amsterdam Vodka's own Pink Whitney. It's got my name on it. It's incredible, the feedback, the amount of people that drink it, the amount of people that enjoy life when Pink Whitney's in the mix. And if you haven't tasted it, please go out, grab a bottle. You'll enjoy life. You'll have fun with the people you drink it with. It tastes phenomenal. You catch a nice buzz. And at the end, you just get to get another bottle the next night. That's how this works. We have people sending us pictures of hundreds of empty bottles around their apartments. Dorm rooms packed with Pink Whitney. Nips being brought into sporting events. It's the best drink you can drink. It's the best drink for winter. It's the best drink for summer. It's the best drink on a golf course. It's the best drink on a boat. It doesn't matter where you are. The taste, the smoothness, and the color all combine into one to make a powerful drink that brings you smiles and brings you joy. Without New Amsterdam, we don't exist. Without New Amsterdam, Pink Whitney doesn't exist. And thank you so much for supporting our brand and buying that drink and catching a buzz while laughing with the fellas or the ladies, because we know the ladies love the Pink Wit. Maybe not me when I'm pink from in the sun, but they love the drink. So thank you to New Amsterdam. Back to the podcast.
And before we get into all the NHL stuff, it was just such an amazing day. So I think we're really on a natural high in terms. Well, RA's on an off, maybe a synthetic one, but we're basically so excited at how it went last night. So I know we're continuing to talk about it. But at the end of the game, 8-5 after the empty netter was scored.
Oh my
Well,
God.
all of a sudden we see guys square off. I'm like, whoa, I kind of didn't expect it. I thought that would happen earlier and once the game was over, but there's guys that want to settle a score. The first fight was Dermody from PD versus Thomas Esposito, right? So
He was a small guy, too.
They were both a little undersized, and they square off, and Biz did a great job giving the play-by-play. And
Ryan Dermody for the Cops, one-on-one. Esposito, and this one goes in favor of FDNY, a fitting way for this game to end.
they literally hit themselves at the same exact time,
Yeah.
but Esposito might have caught him a split second earlier.
Yeah.
And literally, I think whoever landed that punch first, even though they were so close in timing, the other guy was going down. And it was the perfect like punch scenario. All of a sudden, Dermody goes down, the crowd goes nuts, and Esposito's skating off, and we're going crazy. We're like,
Buddy,
what a fight.
the footage they had of
the cameraman.
the benches going crazy. This one, I'll hand it over to Whit. He was losing his mind.
No, so that was all right. So the bench scene's crazy. That fight was the guy on the left. There's a guy on the left. I don't know who it was from FDNY. He's jumping up and down. I almost knocked this over behind me. He's throwing his hands up. He's double hand banging the boards in front of him.
He's acting like a gorilla.
And by the way, like Dermody was down for a second. Like it's like, oh my God, they don't give a shit. Well, what happens next? I thought that was it.
Same.
Nope.
Co-main event.
No.
That was like 20 seconds in the game. Now we're like on to like what? Like 12 seconds? 10 seconds?
Now there's 20 seconds left, I think, around when these happen. Well, then Perfetta and Jimmy Hall Perretta, who was player of the game, maybe one of them for at least the
Perretta
defensive side. He was just
mind you, just Jimmy Hall guy was the guy who slashed an FDNY guy in 14. The face off the bench in 14. That's when the original, the hardcore bench brawl ensued that made this game and put it really on the map.
So all of a sudden we see gloves drop and it's two defensemen, and we're like, oh boy. Now Jimmy Hall. He's undersized guy. I'm gonna say he's 5'7", maybe 5'6". I don't know. Like, but tough as nails. And Merle's made a great point. He looks like White Sox. He looks like White Sox Dave too, which sucks for him. Yeah, but Merle's made a great point after. He's like, these guys, they're cops. They're like fighting citizens if they have to outside. Like they're arresting people
in New York City. Like this is not a normal place.
Yeah,
like, these guys are lunatics already.
So they square off, and oh boy. Perretta, I mean, he lined up as a lefty.
Kevin Bieksa?
Yeah, what a call! It was him
incarnated,
and he lines up lefty. And Hall did a good job of switching to lefty before they kind of interacted with each other.
Perretta said he was reading Hall though the whole time.
Really?
I talked to him about it after
I'll
the game,
say this from a fighter perspective. It seems like Hall was about a half second late on each grab, and then when Perretta had him, he thought he could catch up to him, and Perretta was already cocked. And it was over.
Who helped ignite that brawl in 2014? Perretta for FDNY, Hall for the Cops.
Whoa.
It's all Perretta right now.
Perretta comes in with the
John Perretta letting it loose. Oh my goodness! Wow. Down goes Hall. Wow. John Perretta, the icing on the cake.
So Perretta ends up, he put him down, and I was almost worried a little bit that he was actually knocked out, but I met Jimmy Hall. He was getting up no matter what. Yeah. He gets up, maybe a little wobbly, but he skated off on his own power. Perretta is going into the corner. He's flashing the FDNY logo. He's flexing his muscles. The crowd is going absolutely apeshit. So at this point, the Cops have lost 8-5. They've lost both fights. I'm like, fuck, these poor guys, back to blue. And all of a sudden, I look over to the bench. I'm right at the bench. The guy next to me, so I'm in between the benches, all the way to the left of FDNY, closest to NYPD. He's looking over him going, go to sleep. Laying down, I'm like, oh my God. And then on the other end of the bench, there is a guy.
It's on video. You can see it.
He flips over his stick over the bench. He's shoveling. He's pretending to shovel his grave. I'm like, if this was an NHL game, the Canadian sports media would have a heart attack crying themselves to sleep.
Trudeau would be flying to your house.
Trudeau
for a peace treaty.
Trudeau would be calling an emergency press conference. But it was just old school hockey, and Biz said it best after. Like, it's kind of how fights used to be in the NHL. And yes, there are still animals in the NHL. You see guys squaring off and not looking to grab and throwing bombs.
Not much like this.
There was no tying up. It was just like they were trying to knock each other out. And I said after, I go, credit to both all
squads.
Four guys, and the two guys who lost, no doubt, they squared off. They took off their helmet, and it was just an amazing end to an awesome night. I saw a couple comments. You guys are ruining men's league. I got to go skate at 10 p.m. Somebody's going to try to fight me. I said, don't square off and take your helmet off them, dude. Like, these guys wanted to do it. Shut up. So it was just an incredible evening. Granelli, I told you did a great job.
Incredible job. And the documentary as well.
You said, wait till you see the game, and I was like, he's kind of overselling it, and it really was like crazier than I kind of had imagined going in.
And being between the benches, like, how would you like that? I told you it's awesome.
I said last week how much I love this job. That's the coolest job in the world. Like and I can't imagine in an NHL game being there. You're right in the mix. I had so much fun doing it. Biz and I think we were vibing off each other well, and Jake did a great job.
It was interesting because originally you weren't going to have your mic turned on, but within like
I was flipping.
Yeah, so it was going to be this, hey, toss it down for like a Pink Whitney minute with Wit or whatever, like a sponsored thing where I needed somebody to play off of from the hockey sense, where I thought Jake did an incredible job from a play-by-play history of the game perspective. Like, fuck, there was a lot of names to remember, and I'm not exactly the name guy, so I'm trying to like learn all these in the midst of the broadcast. So I just think that overall, and even with the truck, and it's Mike
Rosenblum, that's what I was just going to say. For him to change that on the fly, like we had this whole minute, this whole show was set up minute by minute, and then on the fly we texted him and said, hey, we want Whit on the call all game. And he changed it on the spot. So, like, he is a total pro. Like, unbelievable. John Kelly as well, who was producing from the Barstool side. Incredible job.
And at the end of the broadcast, I shouted out the truck because there's so many. There's like 17 people in there.
Submarine.
Making the
Hunt for Red October.
Making it all work. But him in particular, because he's been on every call leading up to this. So, I know we said there's a lot of thank yous to go on. Like, live event Lisa.
Her whole team.
She was
awesome.
Justin
Mancini.
The whole squad. I believe she got a text from Steve Mayer from the NHL saying, like, you guys did a heck of a job with that broadcast. And that obviously means a lot from the big dogs coming down.
My favorite moment from Jake. Oh, go ahead, Mer.
Yeah, like we got to talk about why they even have the game. Like all the charity stuff they do. The pregame ceremony had me in tears.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up tears again now.
Yeah.
The families we met up in the stands.
Exactly.
Christina and Colin Moon. It took me a while to get their names because I was in tears talking to them for a Merle's Minute. And then I met Jeff Cool out there. So we got to remember talking about that. It's just an amazing thing. And that was meeting Christina Moon was.
There was a lot of emotional
tough
moments, and I mean, even a special moment was to kick off the broadcast with Wayne sharing a couple stories of 9/11 and Ace Bailey, and you have an unreal story here. We're gonna send it over to the interview, but Whit, you probably could do a better job of explaining the backstory to what he ends up talking about.
Yeah. So the last thing Wayne talks about is a family, Barbara and Betty. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Whose son, he was working at Cantor Fitzgerald, and it's tough to talk about this stuff. Cantor Fitzgerald lost 658 employees. They lost every single person that worked there in the North Tower. They were above where the plane hit, and their son was 23 years old. Great kid, bright future. Well, Wayne had met his parents in 2005 in Vegas, and he talks about how they gave him a picture of their son, and they said, carry this around with you. He said, I'll keep this on me for the rest of my life. And fast forward to, I think, 5 years ago, Wayne ran into other family members, and they said, oh, Wayne, you met Barbara and Betty years ago after Charlie passed away, and I was wondering, do you still have the picture they gave you? And he opened up his wallet and he pulled it out. He said, it'll never leave my side, and he goes into that. So we're going to throw it over to Wayne right now, and Biz, great job getting him. We can't thank Wayne enough. Wayne said to Biz right away when he heard about this, he's like, I'm coming on the broadcast. I played in New York. I know what those people mean. And Biz is like, oh, I don't want to bother him. And the next day, text him again.
Yeah, he's such a busy guy, and so many people are pulling at him constantly, and everyone's like, oh, when's he going to be back on the broadcast? I'm like, has this guy not done enough for hockey? And he continues to do so, especially from like a charitable sense, and like giving people his times for like important reasons that maybe are not seen by the public. So I was at TNT, and I believe that Ty Gretzky, who helps him out a lot with the hockey schools, he might have mentioned it to him, and he's like, hey, Biz, he goes, Ty told me that you guys are throwing on the FDNY NYPD broadcast. He goes, I'd love to come on. And I say, hey, absolutely. I know how busy your time is. So, yeah, if you don't have the time, no worries. And then at the end of the broadcast, we take the car back over to the hotel. He mentioned it again to follow up the next day. And once again, I wasn't going to bug him because I know how busy he is. And then he remembered in the morning, he goes, Biz, I'm coming on that broadcast. So I said, that's a very special moment for not only the broadcast, but, of course, these men and women and hearing these amazing backstories. So we're going to throw it over now. And once again, there's a reason they call him the Great One, guys. I know that he has the record for most points in the NHL, and that's never going to be touched, but he's just like a special guy who puts a lot of thought into a lot of things, and he articulates it so well, and that's why he's the GOAT. So over to Wayne Gretzky.
This interview is brought to you by Chevy. We've been part of the Chevy EV family, but we've got big news. The first ever all-electric Silverado is the official Barstool's most valuable truck. We got the chance to see this thing and experience it, and it is a complete game changer. It's available 400-mile range, GM estimated on a full charge, over 10 feet of length in the bed with the multi-flex tailgate combined with the multi-flex midgate. Large 17-inch diagonal display screen. It can tow up to 10,000 pounds of max towing, 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds with wow mode. Yup, that's wow mode, gets going quick, and up to an impressive 785 foot-pounds of torque. Head on over to Chevy.com right now to learn more. The Chevy EV family keeps getting bigger and better.
Well, we promise everybody watching this FDNY NYPD game a big surprise.
Boy, did we deliver. Boy, did we deliver, Biz.
And the man we're about to introduce came through in the clutch as always. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest player to ever play the game, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Wayne, welcome to the broadcast.
Oh, I'm really excited to be here. What a rivalry. And probably bigger than the Islanders-Rangers rivalry. So I'm excited not only for the game, but to be with you two guys. Thanks for having me on.
They describe it as the biggest amateur rivalry on planet Earth, Wayne. And when we told you about it a few weeks ago at TNT, you perked up off the couch. You said, I want to be part of the broadcast. What about this game that means so much to you, Wayne?
Well, listen, I lived in New York for 3 years, and I want to tell you, first of all, how great they are. As you guys know, the firemen and the policemen, they're off the charts. Their dedication and their desire, their hard work, their fearlessness. But this hockey game means everything to them. When I lived in New York, all I ever heard from the fire department and the policemen was, Wayne, you got to come and see our game. It's a real hockey game. We hate each other. I used to say, how can you guys hate each other? You guys are kind of in the same field. You're trying to save lives and make people happier. But these guys take this game to heart. This is something special for them, not only for them, but their families love it too. Their grandmothers, their grandparents, their moms and dads, their kids. This is a full-on war, and I'm glad I'm not playing in it. I would need Biz on one side and Semenk on the other if I was going to survive.
Wayne, you mentioned 3 years as a Ranger. You went in 1996. So I imagine you met so many of these firefighters and policemen and women. Yeah. Did you ever get to maybe go over to some of the precincts or the fire hoses, maybe slide down a fire pole one night?
I didn't slide down the fire pole. I was no Batman, let me tell you that. But I will say this. We were fortunate enough, Janet and I, to be in New York in the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. And we went to one of the major firehouses where a lot of the people had diminished because of racing in and being heroes. And it was so overwhelming. I remember Janet and I sitting there. A lot of the kids were like 6 and 7 years old when their fathers had passed away and their mothers had passed away. And these kids were 17 and 18 getting ready to go to college. So for Janet and I, it was a surreal experience and something we'll never forget.
Yeah, Wayne, this game is played in honor of the brave men and women who have lost their lives, some of which in 9/11. And the hockey community was directly impacted by 9/11 as well. And it hit close home to you with the passing of Ace Bailey and Mark Bavis. And I believe you're said that Ace Bailey was like a second father to you. Can you speak on the two, please?
Well, I didn't know Mark really well, but Ace loved him. He was a younger guy, and I only met him a couple times, and Ace spoke very highly of him. And the one thing I knew about Ace, if he said you were a good person, you were a great person. As far as Ace goes, I met him when I was 17 years old. I became his roommate on the road. The two of us spent a lot of great times together, Christmases. We traveled the world. He took care of me as a teammate. He took care of me as a son. He took care of me as a friend. I can still remember like it was yesterday getting that call at 8:45 a.m., which was, I guess, 5:45 a.m. LA time. And my friend called and said, there's been a crash in New York. And from what I hear, I think Ace might have been on one of the planes. And I still remember my heart dropping. It was gut-wrenching. I'm still good friends with his wife, Kathy, and his son, Todd. It was one of the most horrific days that I can remember in world history, and every person who was part of it and everyone who lives here still thinks about it. But I always said, people would say to me, how was it living in New York? And I would say, you know what? Yeah, people are aggressive and people can be tough, but I'll tell you one thing, they're the nicest people who ever lived. And I think one of the great things that we got out of 9/11, if there's any positives, is that people learned how nice the people in New York are and how much they rally around each other and how much they care for each other. And that's the good thing that we take out of it. But, you know, you don't replace human life. Ace was so special to me. I can remember one time we played in Cincinnati, and in those days, the WHA, you know, what travel wasn't like it is today. We played in Cincinnati. We got up at 5:30 in the morning. We flew from Cincinnati to Chicago to Montreal to Quebec City to play the Nordiques. And we got there around 3:15 in the afternoon. And I said, Ace, we got to lie down for a couple hours. And so we lied down and we missed our wake-up call. And wake-up call came in a little bit late and raced me out of bed and he got me dressed. And I said, Ace, you're not coming? He goes, no, they're not going to miss me. You make sure you get to the rink. He got a cab downstairs. I got in the cab. I made it to warm up. I remember I came in after warm up and he was sitting there and his hair was soaked and he was in his uniform. And I said, Ace, I didn't see you on the ice for warm up. He goes, no, they're not going to miss me. I just took a shower. That's how Ace was.
A true legend of the game.
Yeah, I miss him.
Biz had mentioned
I miss him tremendously.
Well, Biz had mentioned to me, Biz had mentioned to me you met a very special family. It was Bernie and Barbara Heron, who lost their son Charlie tragically in 9/11 working in the North Tower. And I guess they presented you with something. Can you explain that story for everyone?
Yeah, Jan and I happened to be in Vegas for a charity event, and they were sitting by the pool, and I can't remember exactly what they were there for, but they had sort of a family get-together, and I kind of walked by, and they said, are you Wayne? And I said, yeah. And they said, you know, we had a son that tragically passed in 9/11, and here's his picture, and they gave me his card, and I said, I'll keep it in my wallet for life. And they said, okay, and we had a nice chat. We had a cold beverage together. And 10 years later, I was in Vegas again for another event. And this family, they were friends of their family. And they said, can we ask you a question? You still have that picture, our friend? Their family told us that you were going to have it in your wallet. And I said, yeah. And I pulled my wallet out, and I still had the picture. I said, I promised the family I would never lose it. I would keep it forever. But you know what? Everyone went through a hard time, and for me to keep a little keepsake like that is special to me.
Wayne, we can't thank you enough for joining the broadcast. It means a lot to us, and I just can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Wayne.
Hey, no, you guys are wonderful, and what you guys are doing for these guys tonight and these families is incredible. I know that you guys do a lot of charitable work around North America. You guys are both wonderful. You guys have a great night.
All right, thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
And big thanks to Wayne once again. Like you said, Biz, very generous of his time. Great interview as well. But we have a few other thank yous we want to get to. First off, thanks to everybody who watched online, who attended the event, and who donated. And if you still want to donate, you go to barstoolsports.com/hockeyheroes. Make a donation there. It goes to all the hockey heroes on both sides, fire and police. And a few other thank yous we have. We want to thank Jameson's over on Floral Park. They hosted me and Johnny Kelly. We stopped by there. The folks at the tailgate, we stopped by. Great fans. A lot of Chiclets fans there. It was very overwhelming. Good stuff. The UBS staff, everybody at the arena was terrific, taking care of us in the green room and whatnot. Of course, Borrellis were here right now. They were great to us last night, getting a bite to eat. Great to us right now. Muggsy Jeans. I mean, how good did they make me look, Biz, huh? Talk about drip.
You should be their muse.
I mean,
a new male model for Muggsy Jeans. That's the best I've ever seen you dressed in my entire life.
It's not too often that all of us are in one shot together, and I'm getting most compliments. So I'll eat that all day. I'll eat that stuff up. Chevrolet, G was driving the Chevys all over the place. Pink Whitney, of course. Big Deal Brewing and Labatt Blue. And also thanks again to Jake Marsh. He did a terrific job.
Oh.
And also personally, thanks to Johnny Kelly and Booze for taking care of me yesterday with all my cameras.
And Jeff D. Lowe, did we already say him?
He did an amazing job.
He helped run the panel. So just Barstool's contributions, not only behind the scenes, but Big Cat, Jake Marsh, and Jeff D. Lowe, along with the entire content crew. Everybody showed up and elevated us, and that's why we love Barstool, and we are part of the family.
All right, boys, let's talk some hockey. A lot of firings since we last met. A lot of you guys familiar with this team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. They fired General Manager Ron Hextall, Assistant GM Chris Pryor, and President of Hockey Ops Brian Burke after failing to make the playoffs for the first time since 2006. or as Jeff said, before the iPhone was released. 16 straight years of playoffs out the window. They lost to Chicago and Columbus to finish out the season. Josh, is it Yohe? Is that how you pronounce his name? And the Athletic absolutely ripped Ron Hextall in particular. I mean,
maybe the most.
This was a savage
maybe
article.
the most thrashing of a human being I've ever read in like media post firing, I'd say.
I wouldn't want to be a GM in the coast after getting
the title
ripped
of the article. Ron Hextall, in the end, didn't have the backbone for the Penguins GM job.
Calling him a jellyfish.
He goes in to call him. What was it? All right, meek.
Yeah.
It just. And I'll tell you, he went over some deals. And Army, you've been in the mix in doing all these Penguins games.
Spill the tea, Army.
Wow.
Spill the tea.
I'm the new general manager of the Penguins.
No shit. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Who's going to be your assistant?
Well, Yohe
Merle's?
rubbed my back and he felt my spine. He's like, "You got it." No, I'm joking. Merle's new
you're
assistant.
afraid of Ronnie. That's why you said that. Take it backsies.
It was awesome. It was a disappointing season. Like that was one article that Yohe wrote. He wrote several others leading up to this.
Did.
And, it was just disappointment. Hextall got booed, like fire Hextall chants in Pittsburgh. And I was talking to Phil Bork, the old 2 Niners, done radio there for a while. He's like, I've never heard that here. Well, it's been pretty good times since Bork. He's been
16 years.
16 years of like pretty good times. But just the summer deals, some of the trades, the Marino Matheson trades, like
how about the
this 2 years
McCann and Tanev to Seattle. Like,
God,
what the fuck?
And then
that's a Stanley Cup team with all
and then
those
the
guys.
Carter 2-year deal plus 35 contract. He didn't have a great year this year. Kapanen 2-year deal as well. They somehow got St. Louis to claim him. He ended up playing pretty good there. He started scoring,
he did.
which is like, what the heck happened?
That was a wake-up call.
And then on top of it, all of this stuff, all these things happen. Well, Sid and Gino both played 82 games and had great seasons. Just like that middle, bottom 6th, third line area was mangled. They couldn't figure it out, and all the names that we mentioned are all part of that, or getting rid of, or bringing in, or extending, or whatever happened. And then they couldn't stay healthy as well. So they
brought in Granlund. Granlund.
The Granlund deal at the deadline.
They got him for 2 more years at $5 million a year. They didn't. Nashville didn't keep any of the money, and then also, I'm pretty sure he ended up with one goal and 2 assists in 21 games. It's like, just move after move, and he says it. He says the remarkably inept Hextall tenure came to a merciful end on Friday morning, 793 days after it began. So he talks about this. I mean, I don't want to say it's a well-written article. If you're part of the Hextall family, you're like, this is hell on earth reading this. But he goes through what happened and how everything's gone the way it has, and you got to think it's. I think the Penguins are a lot closer to kind of rebuilding and being a lower level team than they are to be
well, that's what happened. So this is what happened. That
Crosby
really
to the Avs.
That's it.
Biz said that I think 3 years ago.
I'm a little late, but it's happening.
Well, Fenway at their press conference the other day said that Crosby, they don't want. He's going to play as a Penguin his entire career.
What does Crosby want?
Well, that's another question.
I think he
right?
sees McKinnon hat-trick going into playoffs against Nashville. Says that'd be fun. Snap view around him.
Yeah, but you know what? I will say this too, just about this season, and actually at the draft when they did end up signing Gino and Tanger. I don't know if that was Hexy's overall vision of like.
So he didn't want to re-sign Malkin.
Like I don't know. Like, and I'd love to know this year at the deadline a little bit too behind the scenes what deals they had that they didn't get. That panic moved them to get Granlund, right? Because there's kind of rumors that they were on another trade. It fell apart, and they had to try to get something done.
He wanted Trocheck. He wanted to sign Trocheck for a little less money, I think, than Malkin, and he.
That's when Trocheck was up, and he went to the Rangers.
And so, right. Basically, though, when you have a team like that with those guys re-signed and you don't make playoffs for the first time since Merles, me, and Army were on the team,
we started the streak.
we started the streak, and all of a sudden it's come to an end. So some dark times ahead for Pittsburgh, I think. I just don't know what they do with the cap space and lack of prospects in terms of like changing that team on the fly.
The funny thing is, remember we opened the season there.
They won
both games. They beat the Coyotes, then they dummied Tampa Bay, and we're like, Sid's going to win his 4th cup.
We'll be back here in the spring.
You guys are yelling at Sid on the Jumbotron. I just became a U.S. citizen.
Oh,
that
no.
seems like so long ago.
We mushed the Pens.
We mushed the Pens.
So to summarize things, we're sorry, Penguins fans.
Do you think there's any way they could trade him?
Well, I think he has a no move clause. If he
might want to go though.
Who's that, Sid?
Sid.
It's up to him someday. If he wants to go, he'd go.
I don't know.
How many more
I
years?
can't
2.
see it happening.
2 more years left.
I meant like, does he want to play? You think?
Oh, I don't know.
After the way he played this year, it's like,
Yeah.
what do you
have
got
for
4
points?
years
I'd
left.
say at least 5.
What do you have, 93 points?
I see him just dipping, like at one point, and just saying, it's
Really?
good, going out on top, having like 2-3 more years like he just had, and saying peace.
You know what the thing that bugged me too? If you guys, watch the final games, I know there's lots happening. Pittsburgh was already eliminated, which is like you had to beat Chicago
lost
and
to
Columbus
Chicago.
after the Islanders flunked and they opened the door for you to get in. They lose to Chicago after a back-to-back, got in at 3 a.m. with like an American League team, and they at home. And they lose.
That was it.
And they let the Islanders back in. They win their game, eliminate them. They go into Columbus, and Tanger gets like ran over by, I don't even know who it was, like some guy in Columbus. Let's just say that. And like, guess who?
Some e-bug player.
Yeah, so he
pulling people out
I
of the
didn't
crowd
see
now.
this.
He smokes them, like pops them, and like, guess who has to come over there?
Sid.
No shit.
87.
It was a joke.
I was like, what the hell is going on?
I've been
There
on
you
that
go.
all year.
I've been-
No, it's
all year you've
it's
been
happening
saying
for
it, yeah.
years. Like, it's like, what the heck is going on? How does this guy have to do all of that? He's got 93 points. He played 82 games. He's plus. He's going to be 36 this year, I think.
Yep.
It's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Every time I saw a
And he didn't fight, but he went over and let the guy know.
Right.
Because you're supposed to.
Yeah, and there's enough respect there where nothing
Yeah.
escalates too much because it's Crosby, but
Holy
he shouldn't
shit.
having to be invested emotionally like that, where he's focusing on getting points and providing
Yeah.
just the things that he needs.
Like him
to
and
provide.
Gino and Tanger have to do that every game. They have to produce, they have to be the stars, and then they have to be those guys when it's like quiet. They have to emotionally pull guys in too.
Which is bizarre for a
I'll give
Ron
Sutter a little
Hextall
pump.
ran team. So you'd at least think they would have toughness and address that. So
That was the point of the article, is the way Hextall played. Just this maniac guy who took no shit from anyone and started his fair share of brawls, I'd say, as a GM. Basically, Yohi writes like it was the complete opposite. So we'll see what happens in the summer, but a crazy year to think that the Penguins are gone and it's only the first round about to begin.
And Mike Sullivan, he seems to be safe. Obviously, he's still there, and he didn't put the roster together.
Yep.
He did nothing wrong really this year as far as that. You just mentioned Columbus. They fired their coach, Brad Larson. And they won't be extending the contract of goalie coach Manny Legacy. They finished 31st in the league. They did have a shitload of injuries, 563 man games lost. They dressed 47 different players, but what's his name? Aaron Portzline in The Athletic does a great job covering Columbus. He said the room culture had kind of fallen off a bit, and there wasn't as much culpability.
What are you laughing about, G?
I just think it was me and Colby had a funny conversation about this. The fact that Gaudreau scored that goal
Oh my
in the
God,
last
don't get
game
me
of
going.
season, he's the only player on that team that's going to be there for the next 8 years. You know what I mean? And they blew their chance at Bedard. Like that was Bedard could have been Gaudreau's ticket to the Hall of
So
Fame.
here's my theory: is I think that
So tell what happened though.
What exactly went down was Columbus was in position to lose their final 2 games and finish last overall, and last overall gets a 25% chance at first pick. This is one of those years where if I'm Jarmo Kekalainen, I'm going down and I'm saying you have to lose these 2 games. And people may not want to hear that. Actually, Dallas Mavericks just got fined $750,000 for sitting guys in terms of maybe like, not tanking, but making it a not level playing field. I don't care. It's like you need to lose those games. This is a generational player that could completely change a franchise, and because of a meaningless overtime win, you go from 25% to I think they'll have a 12% chance at winning that lottery. And somebody said Brad Larson, maybe he knew he was getting fired, and he's like,
That's
fuck
what I
you.
said. That was
That's
my
you.
theory. So he's like, roll the hot guys out there and fucking let's get this win so he could screw him over on the way out.
All you had to do, you suck all year.
Yeah.
All you had to do is just suck one more time.
Yes.
Just suck one more time, and then your player that's there like no one else is going to be there, and Gaudreau will still be sitting there at the end of this. He gets a breakaway in OT.
Missed the net.
Shoot it in the corner. No, he puts Jari's jock in the rafters. It was unbelievable, like winner.
I've talked about this times. We tanked and got Malkin and Crosby, and what we did in those last 3 games, they sent all the good players back to the AHL and called up all the healthy scratches from Wilkes-Barre for those last 3 games. They were giving us money for team dinners to go out the night before the game, so we were a little foggy.
Team card?
Yes.
Here's the team.
That's how you
go
do
get
it. Like,
buckled.
like, it's so easy as the coach. Just roll the fourth
You're
line.
taking
Just
Quaaludes
keep
before
calling
games.
guys like me to go
You're
out for
crawling
the
out
fourth
there.
line.
Yeah.
Like,
Go get
it's
him, Merles.
so easy to tank.
I know, it's just crazy.
It was amazing to see, and then obviously, RA, that news comes down that he's gone, and like I was immediately in my head. I'm like, that was the dumbest thing. Why would you score that OT? Of all the guys, I could see an American League guy that they put in there, and he's like all excited. Oh, I got to break away in OT. He scores, and like the implications are the 10% loss on the lottery pick. But it's like it was Goudreau of all people. That's like this is going to be your new line mate, this generational talent.
So Johnny Gaudreau on a breakaway, and he pulls up. Okay, oh
he
yes,
flicked it over the glass, folks.
Yeah.
The Gretzky pull-up, awkward. But interesting.
Did we skip over Washington here?
Nope. I jumped down to Columbus because we were just talking about it. But yeah, the Capitals and head coach Peter Laviolette, quote, agreed to part ways, end quote, after 3 seasons. His contract was going to expire at the end of June anyways. But what do you make of this one, Whit?
I hope they gave him the papers on the airplane on the way home from the last game. Because if you remember, that's what he did to me in Carolina when I scored the only goal. And that's why I was on him at the start of the season. I said, the Capitals stink. It's the end of the road.
But this is personal.
Yeah, it's personal for me with
him. So you hate him more than you hate Keefe?
I don't know. That's similar. We'd have to.
I like spite Merles. You don't often see Merles get a little bit upset.
But there's a few get him rattled.
So can you retell the story of getting sent home on the plane?
Yes. So it was actually, that's a fun fact. It was the last hockey game ever played in the Spectrum in Philadelphia. It was Carolina versus Philly. I think we lost 3-1. I scored the only goal, and we played a exhibition game before. I had an assist, so I had 2 points, 2 games. On the plane ride home, he hands me my walking papers. Already had my plane ticket with my name on it. Like, you know how early you have to know
it says when it was booked 2 days ago.
Then, so I'm like, whatever. I'm going to have a great night in Raleigh, party with all the guys like we normally do. I get back to the hotel. I know like the other minor leaguers like, hey, yeah, where are we going to go tonight? Like, let's go. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not going down. I'm like, well, that guy's from the East Coast. He's definitely going down. Yo, buddy, let's go. We're going downtown. He's like, I'm not sent down. I was the only guy in the entire camp that gets sent down. Yeah, and I got a point a game in the preseason. I knew I was going to play in the minors anyway, but it was just a dirty way to do it.
Wow. Yeah,
on the airplane, nonetheless.
Give you 10, 12 days at camp. It doesn't have to be
I want the per diem.
Or like start the year and then send you down because you earned it. You didn't care.
As far as the firing, I thought the team was hosed by injuries all year. I mean, you look at the beginning of the year, I want to say at one point they had $40 million on the IR. They had so many guys up in the press box, like Tom Wilson. He's a big core piece to that team. Oshie, Backstrom. I mean, he was coming back from hip surgery too, so you're never even the same for the first 15, 20 when you get back. So Carlson, he took that puck to the head.
Fractured his skull.
He said it felt like he got struck by lightning. Yeah, that's how bad it was. So it actually fractured his skull. And so the team was never really together. And I mean, you look from an offensive.
I think Ovi's father passed away as well, right?
Ovi's father, yeah, he went back to Russia. So even you look from an offensive perspective, like your ace back there, like Carlson, so much of your even your breakout goes through him because he's playing 25, 28 minutes a game. So losing a big piece like that is probably a massive component. But then you take all those other losses. And one other thing, I'm not trying to be too critical. I felt like I don't think Darcy Kemper ever really got his legs underneath him as well, but he's also been moving around the last couple of years. So interesting to see how that team comes back together towards the end of Ovi and Backstrom's career and how that core group maybe stays together and figures it out for one last run. But overall, from a coaching standpoint, like, I don't know. I don't really know much about Laviolette. Seems like he's a very structured, systems-oriented guy.
And he had to deal with Kuznetsov just straight dogging it all year. So you got all these injuries, and then this guy who's proven that he can be a superstar level. When they won the Cup, that's what he was doing. Well, he actually requested a trade, I guess, 2 years ago. He requested it again, and he just, I think if you watch games, ask Capitals fans, there was games he just blatantly wasn't trying. So kind of a disaster of a season. I said a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, I kind of see Washington playing out the string till Ovi breaks the record, and then maybe another rebuild. And you've seen the success of Pittsburgh and Washington all these years, and it always comes to an end at some point. And I feel like we're kind of coming to those days, whereas you see these teams coming up, and we'll talk about Buffalo and how things are looking different for so many clubs that have been so bad, and the great ones, they always have their decline. So we'll see what happens in the offseason.
I would say they're in better shape than Pittsburgh right now moving forward.
Well, I think they made a decision, right? Like Hathaway, Orlov, like who else? How many other guys? They sold off some of their guys,
right,
at the deadline, and still managed to kind of hang around and do okay, actually, with everything that happened.
And they beat the Islanders in that game, too.
Yeah, that was huge.
They gave Pittsburgh the chance to control their own destiny. So
it was 2-0 a minute in. Liam McHugh, your host at TNT, he's a big Islanders guy. Hey,
Huge
so
Islanders
I
guy.
text him right away. I'm like, boom, boom, with like 2 fire explosion emojis. I'm like, let's go. He's a nice enough guy. He didn't text me when they got their lights beat out against the Blackhawks the next night at the Penguins, but it was so funny when I saw that right away.
He's a
Like
huge
Washington
Islanders
just
guy.
boom, boom.
He actually
got on top of him.
He texts with that Ledecky nonstop, who's the owner of the Islanders, right? Ledecky?
Yep.
Who hates my guts because I was calling the team boring. So we're in a bit of a feud.
Everyone,
I got
think
the
everyone
whole
here hates
Islanders
your guts.
management ownership team hating my guts. I'm surprised I made it out of UBS Arena. I had to have Jake Marsh test all my food and water that I was drinking
You're
first.
still in Isles country. You're not out yet.
I know, yeah. Borrelli's he's gonna food poison me here.
If you're not feuding with them, you're rooting for them, Biz. Also, the St. Louis Blues let go assistant coaches Craig McTavish and Mike Van Ryn. They did keep Steve Ott and goaltending coach David Alexander. What do you make from that when a team gets rid of 2 assistant coaches, keeps the head coach and another assistant?
I don't know. These guys might have more than me. A little awkward. I know after talking to Jim Montgomery when we interviewed him at the Winter Classic, Steve Ott has a crazy bright future coaching. I got to know him a little bit in one of the lockouts. A hockey mind and a hockey lifer. I think it makes sense that he'll probably be there and end up being a head coach someday. But without being on the team already, it's not fair for me to say kind of what those assistants that were let go maybe were lacking, or maybe there was a miscommunication with Berube and those 2 guys. So I'm not at liberty to really say on that because you don't see it that often.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I know Otter pretty good, and he's like,
he'll be.
I think he's got
good at what he does.
He's got a good enough personality where he can adapt to these younger players and massage them and try to teach them how to be true pros. Obviously, Berube still being around here, I felt like he was maybe a little bit hard media-wise on the younger guys like Thomas and Kyrou, basically saying like, these young guys, man, they're getting their points, but some nights they're not showing up, they're not back-checking, and they're not doing the things that it takes to win a cup. So they're going to have to work with these young players that they still have and haven't locked in these 8x8 deals and figure out how to get things done. But I think Steve Ott's one of those guys that can help do that.
Yeah, smart, like sees patterns. Like he sees the game in like these weird patterns. I was talking to him about it one time when I did a TNT game. They were playing Tampa. I was between the benches and had a chat with him about all this stuff. But bright future.
But even
good
getting
guy,
to know
but
them
he's good with people
on the personal level.
He's like a good with the players. Like he's kind of blurring the line a little bit almost because he's so good with people that it's like he's a coach, but it's like he's still playing almost.
I couldn't picture him as a head coach having to be serious. That's for sure.
Yeah. But just a great guy, a really smart guy, really good head and mind for hockey.
One thing we skipped over when talking about that first overall pick, Bedard, they lost in Game 7, right, to the Saskatoon Blades.
Yeah,
the Regina Pats, and he had what 19 points in the 7 games.
He had 20
points.
20 points in 7. He only had 1 point, I believe, in the Game 7 knockout game. My dad was going to the games. My dad was like texting me. He's like, because I'm from Saskatoon. He's like, they can't shut this kid down. He's like, he had like 3-1 tonight. And like they won, and like he was literally like
they got their pitchforks outside by the team bus.
Saskatoon's like a top-ranked team in the CHL. Like they're one of the better teams in the Western League, and that's what this kid was doing, is just ripping it apart. And they were showing like numbers, like look at McDavid's season this year, and then they're like showing like his season in Regina this year too, because it was almost identical numbers what they were doing.
Nice. All right, to go back to answer your question about why this happens with St. Louis, the GM wanted to fire the coaches. They got to make a change. But do you want to go into the office and fire Craig Berube?
That's another one. It's
like, nope, I'll just do the 2 little assistants.
Yeah. Maybe that'll change something. And if it doesn't, I'll send someone in next year. I'll fire myself.
The team with the best chance of Bedard, Anaheim, they got a 25.5% chance of getting the number 1 pick. They will not renew the contract of head coach Dallas Eakins, whose deal expired at the end of the season. He was in Anaheim for 4 seasons, with the organization for 8 years. They've been out of the playoffs the last 5 seasons. They were last in goal differential this year, -129, 31st in goal scored. And with Pat Verbeek taking over for Murray during the season, no surprise he's going to want his own coach, Whit?
Yeah, not at all. And I do want to give a little credit to Dallas Eakins. If everyone doesn't remember, he went to Edmonton his first chance as a head coach in the NHL, and his first move was getting rid of the media's like donuts and chocolate croissants. So like that was like the first kind of, I don't know if this guy's ready, and Edmonton had a tough go. Well, he ended up going down and being an AHL coach for a while and did a good job and got his chance. I think he did a lot better job in Anaheim these few years, changing his coaching style. But that roster wasn't built to win these few years. He was kind of let down in terms of they're in their rebuilding mode. And heads up for that club. If they do get Bedard, I think it would be a quick rise to being a top team because they have so many good young prospects. But I don't know if he'll get another chance. It's kind of hard after 2 when you really didn't have much success in either spot. But I do, from what I've heard, respect the fact that he changed a little bit as a coach, and when you get to Anaheim and have that roster, there was really no chance to have a good team.
I usually like to see a coach who has a roster like that and through the dark days at least get the opportunity to come up and see if there is progression. I mean, DJ Smith's another guy, an example in Ottawa, where year over year they're doing better and that culture is growing now that they actually have the talent to do something. So I guess I would always say I feel like you get a little bit of the raw end of the deal if you don't get to see the upswing. But, I mean, like you said, he adapted to his style. He was great in San Diego because we actually used to have rivalries with him in Ontario. But I'm sure he's going to land on his feet and get another job somewhere at some point.
The draft lottery is going to be on May 8th, and after Anaheim, in order of odds, you got Columbus, Chicago, San Jose, Montreal, Arizona, Philly, Washington, Detroit, St. Louis, and Vancouver. So,
what are the odds between 2 and 3? Are they both 12%, or does it drop a little bit?
Columbus is second. They got a 13.5% chance, and Chicago is after them, 11.5. So only
so similar on those two.
Yeah. And speaking of Chicago, Jonathan Taves, if he does return for a 16th NHL season, it will not be with Chicago. The team announced he got his farewell swan song, whatever you want to call it, the Blackhawks. A nice tribute the other night. But Biz, do you think we see him for a 16th season, given the health woes he's had the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think that I could see him even maybe taking some time off again, because I know that he was having some issues even at the end of the season, and coming back at some point to play a third, fourth line center role, making $1 million where not all the focus is on him because he's making all this money, and maybe enjoying hockey a little bit more on a winning team and getting to pick where he wants to go. If he ends up hanging it up, man, that's a long time to be on top and to accomplish what he's accomplished. And if he were to be like, you know what, I've just simply had enough of this grind and travel, I want to go enjoy the rest of my life, I would not be shocked. I reached out to him to come on the podcast, so he's going to come on for an interview soon here. I'm really interested to pick his brain. Obviously, there was some crazy shit that happened to him with COVID and what it did to his immune system. So maybe not the ending that he deserved. Mm-hmm. That's why I kind of hope maybe he comes back and goes to a winning team, or he ends up part of this like fun group that ends up going to have more success. I don't want to think that Jonathan Taves' story is ended as a hockey player.
I think that it's all health related. Biz said, I mean, what he's going through just to like try to get healthy and feel good enough to play games for a lottery team at the end of this season. I mean, he mentioned what he was having to go through just to play games now, and you realize I don't know if he'll want to go through that grind. I don't know if his body can handle it anymore. But for me, it was more a bigger picture. And 2010 was their first cup. And Taves, if you remember, in the World Juniors had a legendary shootout run where the Team Canada beat Team USA and was this superstar. And then 2010, he goes to the Olympics as the 13th forward. He ends up winning MVP of the Olympics. Canada gets the gold medal in Vancouver. He wins his first Stanley Cup. He's a 22-year-old captain, I think, at Chicago, and really just changed everything there. I know it was him, Kane, Keith, Seabrook, and that's who you kind of think about, but there was just so many factors to a quick uprising in that whole organization, from the bottom of the depths of the league with 5,000 people to the craziest, best atmosphere and a dynasty team. 2010, 2013, 2015, he wins a Conn Smythe. He's just the ultimate pro. He's a true legend in the city of Chicago. And I found it like a little poetic and fitting that no one really got a send-off like him in Chicago, and Kane ended up getting traded, and so you didn't get the proper goodbye, but he scored a goal in his final game in Chicago. He had a breakaway, I think, in overtime, which would have just been so amazing to see him end it like that. But then he's skating around, and he's getting this goodbye. He's got a hat on. He's saying thank you. He kept saying, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. And I was just thinking, like, I felt so old. I was 2010. I was really near the end of my career, I probably had 2-3 more years, and I saw this kid coming up, and all of a sudden it's over in Chicago. It's like, I'm 40 years old. Like, where did the time go? Yeah. And they just had this amazing run, and that guy is a Hockey Hall of Famer. Once again, I apologize for saying he wasn't, and 2 seconds later taking that back. But it was cool to see him get the proper goodbye, and his humility, you could tell he doesn't think he deserves it, but if there's anyone who does, it was him.
And it's not only the like the hockey aspect and the physical damage that it does to your body, and it fucking takes the soul out of you, a career that long and going through all the things that he did. It's like you're the captain managing all the egos in the locker room and the relationship. So the emotional toll it takes on you to be a leader for that long, that's why if it's all said and done and he's like, hey, I'm peacing out, what a fucking run, man. That guy, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer based on accomplishments in the NHL and international play.
Well, I think you got injuries at the end of your career. I did. I certainly did. You did. We know about your knees. Hello, McDavid. But that's where it's like he's been through the ringer with, missing some time. It kind of beats the love out of the game for you a little bit. Like, I think that's what you're getting to. It's like, you've done all this stuff, and then now it's kind of hard, and you're missing time, and you're having to, stay with it, and it's kind of like, oh my god.
And you've accomplished so much.
And you already done everything.
Well, think about that going every day. Think about every day going to the rink and doing your stretches, doing this. It's just like all of it combined.
Also, while being a former superstar, and then you don't even have the game anymore. So you're not only going through everything just to play in a game, you're not the same player, and it's mentally exhausting.
Yeah. So that's where I think he's going to probably, obviously, if he doesn't know already, look at himself and go, do I love this still? I think we all did that, right? Even the great ones do that. They're like, I don't got it anymore. Like, I can't go again, So I think that's something that he's going to have to talk to himself
But a proper
with.
Send-off.
Yeah, he got it.
And the fans ended up, it was good. Chicago announced that it was his last game, that he wasn't going to be re-signed, I think in the morning. Everyone had time to go get tickets. The place was packed. He went from no fans in that building to making it a dynasty in his last game. Everyone was filming it and giving him a proper goodbye. So at least we got to see that.
Love it.
And Chicago's head athletic trainer, Mike Gapsky, after 36 years retired. He was the longest tenured trainer in the NHL and also the longest tenured single-team trainer in NHL history. Had over 3,000 regular season and playoff games, and, of course, the 3 Stanley Cups. So kudos to him. Congrats to him.
They got him a bass boat.
Huh?
Did they?
See the boat they got him? They got him a real nice boat.
That's sick.
Is he the guy who used to walk around no shoes all the
remember.
time?
I was playing. You probably saw the guys with the scratches were working out.
I did. That's a good point. That's exactly where I saw him in the hallway. I'm like, you have no shoes on? And they were like, yeah, he never wears shoes, ever. I think he was on the ice when he got the bass boat for the viral situation because the team was going to be filming it. But other than that, he's going Fred Flintstone.
It looked like Craig Anderson might be calling it a career. What they're calling his last career start in Ottawa the other night. What a great gesture after the game, Biz. How all the Sens coming over and kind of giving a hug. You see now, Brady Tkachuk go over, give him a nice big bear hug.
I feel like sometimes that's why these games are scripted, where it lined up perfectly, where he gets to go back to his old team, where he probably had the most success. They ended up making that playoff run with him, so it was just a great scene. And holy shit, like you just said, you're 40 and you feel old looking back on all that stuff. Could you imagine still getting your body ready to play a fucking hockey game?
It's crazy.
I have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning after we record a podcast, for fuck's sakes.
I mean, if he is indeed done, congrats to Andy. Hell of a career. 20 years in the NHL.
Unbelievable.
Ottawa, Buffalo, Florida, Chicago, Colorado, and a cup of coffee down in Washington as well. So, hell of a run for the guy. Biz, your boy Clayton Keller.
If I could just go back to Buffalo, though.
Certainly.
Yeah, we got to show them some love.
Unbelievable season. A little as awesome as the Anderson story is, and he gets to retire the way he did, and I'm not even saying he could have been the backup. I just feel if they would have went and got somewhat of a competent goalie, they would be in a playoff spot right now.
But they knew Levi was coming. They knew Levi was coming.
I understand, but I'm not saying
it's the very, very, very beginning of the window. I was against you along the entire season of them just standing pat and going about this year and creating a culture of a little bit of winning, and they did that. They were in it till the second to last game of the year.
If you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, you could tell me I'm a fucking moron, but I say this all the time. Why do you want to draft 15th? I'm not saying leverage the future. I'm saying go to get somebody like fucking Allmark. They had him, and he signed for what, $4.5 million a year? And obviously that mistake was made, but just go get somebody who's decent. I'm not saying even give up a first rounder, but find somebody who can get you into playoffs, and they would have. Didn't they finish 1 or 2 points out of a playoff spot?
They tied with the Penguins. They're 1 point out, and you're not going to win like again in the 8th seed, but you're also not going to win your first year in the playoffs. So get all those young guys in there this year. Get that first year of playoff experience out of
That's
the way,
it.
and then you start going the next
Get
couple
them to
years.
dip their toe
Yes.
in, man. Get them to bust their nut,
but
man.
you
They're
don't- do you-
virgins.
do you not think Buffalo
Get them a
Sabres-
fucking rub and tug, baby.
you
I'm
not-
not saying get them the full fucking sex scene. Just get them the tug,
Do
man.
you not think Buffalo
Give 'em the
Sabres
peep
fans
show.
are fired up though? They're like Buffalo Sabres fans are. They're as happy as they could be. Yeah, I mean, you want to get in the playoffs, but like, ask a Sabres fan right now. They're in a great mood and spirit towards this team.
I agree, and they're getting some money off the books, and I want to say Opozo's deal is up, but I think they're going to bring him back, obviously, as captain and on a cheaper deal. I love this comments. He goes, like, it was like, this is a team. We're finally a real team. And yes, it makes me excited for the future. I'm just speaking on, I think that the experience come playoff time is valuable. What's everybody talking about as far as New Jersey and Rangers?
I was just going to say that after you were done, because I was like, Merles, is that kind of a shot at Pasha a little bit?
It's not a shot. It's like, what's the one thing? It's like they don't know what it's like when the puck drops comes playoff time. Yeah. That's why everybody's got the Rangers. It's like last year they dipped their toe in. They should have lost first round against the Penguins, but then those young guys on that third line, the kid line, they get all that experience going to the conference finals. I think that that's valuable and important, and I looked at this as maybe a wasted season where you're saying they're being a little bit more optimistic about it, saying, hey man, we're right there, Levi's coming in, now we're going to get there next year. Okay, great, but then that's going to be your first experience.
I agree with that.
And then you're going to get bounced, and then there goes 1 year of that time again. So I'll shut up now. Buffalo fans are probably punching the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Brian from Buffalo's fucking losing it, the hipster.
I was saying, Biz, yeah, Clayton Keller, he tied the Coyotes team record, not the franchise, but since they've been in the desert. Big Walt's record of 86 points, he tied it. Did you think he was going to break it, man? He had a good chance. He had a couple of
the last couple games. I don't think he had a point in the second to last game, and then the last game he got one against Vancouver. I was just happy he at least tied it.
Yeah.
That was all I was worried about, and I think he assisted on a goal at the end of the first period, late at the end of the first period, and it was against Vancouver. It was a high-scoring game, but that was it. I've said my piece on Clayton Keller. I hope he's a finalist for the Masterton. I think he deserves it, and an incredible resilient season after suffering a broken femur last year. Difficult to come back from, and also the team had a great year as far as exceeding expectations, but he had to play against top line matchups every night, and the guy put up 86 fucking points. That's highly impressive. Put some respect on his name in the Coyotes.
Absolutely. Big Wall, pretty good company as well. This is time for Pasha's stroke off. Jack Hughes, he broke Patrick Eliash's team record for points in the season. Yeah, it was 96. He ended up getting 99, 43 goals, 56 assists.
Wow, dodging bullets, baby. Dodging bullets.
I'm not even like celebrating in the least though, because of the fact this is a lost bet. I realized like immediately this year when I saw how good he was, how dynamic he is. I didn't understand that he's actually like that level of player. He's getting 100 points next year, and if he doesn't get it next year, somehow he's getting it the third year. This bet was horrible by me. I barely snuck by this season, although I did take 500 off Pasha for the Palat. Palat, I think he had getting 35 goals or something like that. So I won money there, but that Hughes bet is over and done with. He's a 100-point player, and that's no doubt.
But a consolation prize for Pasha, who just sat down with a mic. In that final game, Luke Hughes gets in the lineup, and he gets a goal, his first of his career in his first game, assisted by his brother, and Pasha was cranking his cock off.
Listen, I've been saying for a while the future is bright, and I think you guys are eating crow now because biggest single season turnaround in NHL history, 49 points. They broke the record in that last game.
They broke our record, Army.
Yeah,
from
so
the
suck
Pens.
on that.
Oh
Wit.
my God, you took down the Wit dog in arms, Posh?
Suck on that, Wit. Devils in 6.
Yeah, you got Devils in. We're gonna get to that prediction.
Yeah, we got the
later.
previews coming up after all the NHL
Good for you,
news.
Pash. It's been a good year for you. It's been a fight at times. You've been battling like our group chats. You've taken
by himself,
fighting.
We got Wit
he's
poking
like
the bear and turning Devils fans against me. I got guys DMing me and being like, "Fuck you, man! Like the way you talk about the Devils, you're making everybody hate them on the pod." Like,
well, you've already given your prediction. Explain why you believe Devils in 6. We'll get to you first, and we'll go back to it later. Explain to me what makes the Devils so special.
They're just simply a better team. 5-on-5, they're better in every single metric in terms of shot generation, chance generation, shot suppression, all that. Every metric, 5-on-5, they're just a better team. They're deeper on forward. They're deeper on D. Obviously, New York has a better goalie. I think everybody knows that. New York has a better power play. So I think if the Rangers are to win this series, Igor's going to have to full-blown steal 2 games, I think, and I think the power play has to be opportunistic because at 5-on-5, the Devils are going to outchance them and dictate the pace of play every game.
The team speed, we can go into this series a little bit more, but the team speed of Jersey's at another level than basically every team around the league, but especially the Rangers, who are a little bit on the slow side, I think.
You're saying fuck the experience. I want the young legs.
You
Legs
guys,
feed the
everybody
wolf.
talks about this experience, but the last time the Devils were this good in 2012, let's not forget the rookie Adam Henrique had 2 series-winning goals in overtime. So sure, experience is a big deal, but also you got guys like Henrique winning 2 different series in the same playoff run. So I wouldn't count out guys like Mercer, who I think is going to have a big playoffs. You know, the last month of the season, the Devils had Timo Meier on their 3rd line. So you want to talk about depth? Give me the Devils' bottom 6 over the Rangers' bottom 6 any day of the week.
Every time
Pasha came to play, baby.
Every time he talks to me, he just convinces me how good they are, and then I see it. So, but we'll get to our picks a little bit, Pasha.
Okay.
Like analytics, stats, everything. He had it all there.
Devils in 6, baby.
Is there one last thing you want to say about them? Is there anything else in that head of yours that you want to get off your chest?
I said this last night. I think there's going to be more moments regarding Patrick Kane, but I'll throw Tarasenko in there as well. I think there's going to be more moments in this series where you're like, woof, like that was your guy, dude.
Watch your fucking mouth,
Tough defensive play compared to times where you're like, oh damn, Kane, that was a sick goal or whatever. I think he's gonna be more of a liability than he is an asset.
You think this guy who's set to become the greatest American-born player of all time is gonna lay an egg in a first-round matchup series against an unexperienced team?
Yeah, that's what you just
I
said,
think
Biz.
Patrick Kane is gonna fucking bukkake all over your fucking
Save
face.
it for the preview, Biz.
Fuck you.
This is Pasha's moment.
Right,
Calm
right,
down. He's
right.
got the vein in his neck going.
Oh, all right.
This is coming from a guy who loves Patrick Kane. I would say he's one of my top 10 favorite players of all time. Unbelievable player. But listen, this isn't 10 years ago. This is in today's NHL. Merles was saying, oh, Kane is better than Meyer. Right now, today, that's crazy to say. Timo
Best
Meyer
winning
is a
percentage
way
since
better.
the trade. New York Rangers.
Getting
The whole league.
Myers had more
to
points.
The new omelet guy in New York, like you said, it takes a couple of months to settle.
Yeah, all
in?
of a sudden there's too many tomatoes. There's not enough peppers. The cheese
but
is
it's
overdone.
not since he joined the Rangers. Kane has been an absolute defensive liability for a couple of years now. And listen, I'm telling you, he'll hurt the team
He's playing
more than he's
possum,
helping them.
Pasha.
That's it.
We'll
We're
get-
definitely
all right.
going to the game now Tuesday.
Yeah, Merles and Pasha are going Tuesday
Merles
and
I are
Thursday.
going Tuesday and Thursday.
Wow,
So we'll see.
that's gonna be
We'll see.
electric.
I know. They might fight each other in there.
Yeah.
That might have been the best breakdown we've ever had in Spittin Chiclets. Job
Well, dude, he looks at pictures of Jack Hughes in bathing suits every night. He's dialed into the Devils. Of course, it's going to be a good
he's got the
description of the club.
The Devils Analytics Spank Bank looking at their advanced numbers.
You were interviewing that guy at the NYPD game last night, and he's like, he came after you too. He's like, I'm a Rangers fan, not a fugazi. We're the for realsies. He said that in that interview.
Yeah, he made sure. He's like, I got to say this.
I gotta
make sure I get to say this.
I am a for realsy, man. I fucking need you guys right now to save my ass cheek because we have that bet going.
I'm with you.
I'll make one last comment. This is to the Rangers social media Instagram account.
Look at this
You'd be
guy.
smart to block me again because I'll be chirping you.
Right to the
You
camera.
want Dolan now. You want Dolan.
Whoever runs the Rangers
Dolan
social
does.
media account,
Dolan does.
go ahead and block me now because you're going to be hearing a lot of it.
They
when the Devils
blocked you
win in
last
6.
year?
James Dolan runs the account.
I don't know if it was Dolan,
We
but
called him out on the game notes though, and then they
unblocked me.
They
After
unblocked
game
you.
Notes called them
Yeah.
out.
Ever
so
since the Charles Oakley incident, he took over all
just a coward
all
organization
social media.
through and through.
That's a great move right there,
So
Posh. I love.
we have the Eastern Conference bet. If they get there in the next 2 years, I'm getting a tattoo of the devil, the
This
mascot
is
on
where
my
I'm going
ass.
to hop off the mic.
But you have to commit something if they don't make it to the conference playoff.
Shave the head. I think he's got to shave the head.
He said he'd jump in the Hudson. I don't think that's enough. I
said I would jump in the Hudson, and then Whit last night at dinner started making some points, being like, people go in there in hazmat suits to like clean it and shit. So
I would
actually
never jump in the Hudson.
We'll have to think of something else because that could kill me.
I get to take
think
a
that's
shit on
fair.
your chest.
I think that's a fair one. Jump in the Hudson.
Just a big Cleveland steamer right on your chest, Pasha. We'll fucking put it on the internet to embarrass you and the rest of the
Probably
Devils
get
fans.
turned on by that. you
Fuck,
sick
shut the
fuck.
fuck up. I'm just stroking off to taking her shit on. We're off the rails.
Yeah, we got another
Mr.
Rangers.
Back in, all
Borrelli,
right.
Frankie and Mr. Borrelli are like, get the fuck out of my restaurant.
One final Rangers note. So I actually went to the final home game the other night. Thanks to the Rangers and my pal Dan Neeson who hooked me up. Jacob Trouba, at the end of the game, they did shirts off their backs like a lot of teams do. And the guy he presented his shirt to, he was a Sandy Hook survivor, Isaiah Marquez Green, his name is. And Trouba brought him over to the penalty box or the bench and sat with him. He presented him with a certificate saying he was going to pay for his law school because the kid said he wanted to be a lawyer. And Trouba says, your law school's on me. He gave him his number, said, keep in touch. I want to monitor your scholastic, whatever Endeavor. There you go. And just a nice moment that I didn't get to see that during the game. But by the way, when you get the VIP hookup with the Rangers, boy, good shit, man. I got taken care of big time.
All right, just big time. And now he goes from shrimp cocktails at the Jersey game down to the lower level. You said you ran into a celebrity, didn't you?
A few of them, yeah. Michael Gandolfini, James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano, his son was there. Jason Biggs from American Pie. Roy Wood Jr. from The Daily Show was right behind me.
Real A-list there.
Yeah, people really went. I didn't get to the final one.
You fucking asshole.
People were bugging for photos.
You said celebrity. I was like, who do you see? I didn't know.
Catherine Keener. She was probably the bigger name. She was the mom and 40-year-old virgin.
Gets me
out of sight. Great actress. And I went over and people weren't bugging them or taking pictures. I
Were
just kind of
bugging you, RA?
No.
Okay.
I was whatever. If they do that, well, they're not bugging me. No one's ever bugging me.
Didn't Austin Matthews look back and give you?
I was giving some head nods because Ryan O'Reilly was looking over, and I kind of gave a couple head nods. And they were kind of giggling. Yeah, him and Matthews because they were like, "Oh, he gave you the nod back." Yeah,
what the fuck
like
is
10 feet away.
He probably snuck in.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Looks familiar.
Here he is.
Why
again.
is that Usher winking at me?
But I will say, Catherine Keener, though, I just mentioned. I mean, she's in tons of great movies. Being John Malkovich, Out of Sight, 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I went over and I said, hey, this is a longtime fan. I love your work. And she's like, oh, thank you. And then I didn't know we were going to see her later. Between periods, I ended up talking to her for like a half hour. Just a doll of a woman. Great gal. Great actress, too. So it was a treat, man.
Game.
Yeah, no, it was great because I'm a huge
working
fan of
himself into the social pipeline.
His Muggsy jacket on, just the collar popped.
Just
sunglasses like a star.
Lloyd Christmas and Harry over there working themselves in the social pipeline in Aspen.
So it was good shit anyways. But hey, boys, how about that Chevy commercial we dropped, the one we filmed out in Arizona with all the podcast boys? A lot of people saw me get basically murdered on screen by Will Compton. He fucking almost cracked my neck. Did you see the video?
Yeah, I saw it. It was good. That was a good commercial too. It was like an Anchorman. Remember Anchorman when like the three news teams came?
Great call.
And they all like got in a fight. That's how it kind of ended up happening. And it blew up. And of course, Compton was tweeting about like ending your life or taking you from within 1 inch of ending your life.
That's the same guy who filmed the Pink Whitney commercials. Rob Langerman.
He's the best.
He does an awesome job. We just dropped that Pink Whitney commercial. Have we already talked about that? So we had a lot of things come out from our sponsors. That's cool.
Yeah. Is that the one you couldn't get in the party? You guys couldn't get in?
Yeah, we got pigeon tossed by Nicky Clicky.
We're losers now.
We're losers.
Are we losers?
And shout out to Chevy for coming on board for the FDNY NYPD broadcast. They have the new Chevy EVs out, and they've been an awesome sponsor for us this year. It's been a great partnership. Just waiting for my truck.
Absolutely.
Just waiting. Been patiently waiting.
And, before we get to the previews, we were talking last night about the NBA playoff schedule versus the NHL schedule, and you were actually saying that the NHL should maybe copy what the NBA does a little bit.
Well, I more just thought about, I guess it would make such a difference. So the NBA's all into the load management. RA kind of informed us a few weeks ago about it's all like done through analytical stuff in terms of when guys need to be rested. It's not their decision apparently when they don't want to play. And they hammer in all these games throughout the year. They play. I think they start after the NHL and then they finish before the NHL. Playoffs already began last night. But what they do is they then take 2 and sometimes 3 days in between every game. So they end up finishing after the Cup final, but they've started beforehand. NHL, it's all about that 2.5 month grind of every other day. And if you win a series early, you get the 3, 4, maybe 5 day break before the next series. If you don't, a lot of times you'll see Game 7. You win on Game 7 Friday night. Well, the second round's going to start on Sunday night. And that's kind of how it goes. But the argument is, for the NBA to do that, they want their players at tip-top shape. And maybe they're softer and need a little bit more time, but maybe if the NHL did that, you would see better games. A lot of times the first round is by far and away the most entertaining 2 weeks we get, and then you see guys breaking down injuries and basically just being exhausted and having adrenaline get them through games, where if they did get that second day off between each game of the series, maybe you'd see a little better hockey. The other part of it, though, for me, where I kind of think I'm still leaning is it's the grind, though. Hockey's all about that every other day, and that kind of makes the run to the Cup a little more special, where, like, I remember in the run to the Cup against Detroit, it's like, all right, we played Wednesday, Thursday, you just go in, you get treatment, you just get ready, cold tub, get a nice dinner, boom, you wake up and you're right back at it. So I think that's kind of cool in terms of winning the Cup to go through that. But you might see better hockey if they ever went to the longer days or longer breaks in between games.
Yeah. No, I like the argument. I think that for me, it's the balance of both. Like regular season hockey in the NHL, I feel like they should be no all-star game because I feel like it's a waste of time, and there should be less back-to-backs. I just feel like the quality based on how much they're trying to roll guys out there. And in hockey, given the physicality and the fact that, yeah, I get that you're not getting the pounding of running, which is a lot worse than skating, but adding in all the hitting where like these guys aren't getting any type of load management. There's really no such thing until a team clinches a playoff spot and you're already at game like 75 where maybe they do it for one game and then let another 3-4 guys rest out of the core unit, say. Right? You've seen Boston adapt to it. We talked to Coop, and Coop said, no, I'm not into that, where those guys have played that much hockey and then don't get the rest on top of the fact in playoffs they're going every other night. So
before we get to the previews, I think we got to bring up Calgary maybe, RA.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And the issue in Calgary is what a disaster of a season. The big trades that happen, and all of a sudden they don't get into the playoffs. And I just want to get ahead of something. I sent a tweet out the night that they lost. Who'd they lose to in the shootout, guys, to knock them out?
Nashville? Was it?
Yeah,
Nashville
went to because of UC Saros.
Yes, it was
fourth round.
Nashville. So Sutter ended up putting out Nick Ritchie in the shootout. And I just said, oh my God, season on the line, like could be job on the line, even though he's re-signed 2 more years. It's like Nick Ritchie goes, and I said, Toffoli's been your best player by a mile all year. Kadri did go and he missed. Toffoli is unbelievable. He doesn't shoot in a must-win game in a shootout, and people, all these fans said, he's 2 for 20 this year in shootouts. What are you talking about? I said, I don't give a shit. And this is nothing against Nick Ritchie, but I don't give a fuck if he was 0 for 40 in shootouts. It's your best player. The best players step up in the biggest moments. He's your number 1 goal scorer. You got to have him out there in that shootout. It makes I don't care about prior records. This is to get in the playoffs. You don't put out Nick Ritchie in a shootout in a must-win game. So it was just shocking. And then throughout the year, I swear to God, the end of the Calgary Flames season was when Daryl Sutter embarrassed the rookie. And I don't know if we can get his name pulled up because I'm embarrassing him right now for not knowing his name, but I'm not his head coach. And Daryl Sutter, he played his first game, and he was asked about how the kid played, and he's like, what number was he? And he just, I don't know if he was trying to be funny, but in the room, I'll tell you, I know for a fact it did not go over well. It's disrespectful to a guy whose lifelong dream just came true. And I don't care if rookies don't have much of a say, and Daryl Sutter's old school, to kind of embarrass a guy like that, along with I'm not saying Markstrom should take no blame. He had a bad season, but he's messing with Markstrom's head throughout the entire year, and it's just stale. It's stale the way he goes about and coaches. You saw in LA, and this is a guy in the tweet I sent. He has accomplished way more than I ever did in my NHL career, but you can't coach the way he does anymore. He doesn't change. He's not going to give in, and guys just tune him out. It ends in a way that I'm sick and tired of listening to him. It's so miserable being at the rink, and you saw that a team with cup aspirations going into the year aren't even in the dance.
That's Jacob Pelletier, too.
Jacob Pelletier, that right there, the embarrassment of him was the beginning of the end of this season.
Was that worse than leaving Gretzky on the bench at Nagano?
Maybe that's why they traded for him. Hey, remember he traded his brother? Brought him in because he's better at the shootout.
I think it's an insane reply because it means that he actually thought about it and gave it thought. Where would he have not considered other options like putting Toffoli? There was other guys that he looked past other than Toffoli. Do you have the names?
Yep, Mangiapane, Doobie, Lindholm.
So it's the sweat equity that these guys have put in all season to even put them in that situation to fucking maybe make playoffs, despite everything that's gone wrong. Ritchie got at the deadline, and when he scored on UC Saros, and the reason why he put him against them because he'd scored on him prior, he was with a different team. So fuck off with this nonsense. I think you're overthinking it, Daryl.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about the moment too. You were in that moment. Yeah, that was a thing. Should it have been that for you? Maybe not. You lost 32 1-goal games, and how many were in overtime?
Yeah, that was tough.
They couldn't catch a break. They couldn't win games. The goalies couldn't find a way. The team couldn't find a way. But you were still in that moment. You still have to that's everything. So put your guys that are hauling in massive paychecks when the Brinks truck pulls up. Those are the guys that got to get it done for you in that moment, right?
Yes.
And that's, I even think players expect that. Like, you don't tell me he's like going, "You're up, Richie," and everyone on the bench is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Richie's like, no, don't do this to me.
What?
Don't do this to me, please. Oh, fuck.
As he's jumping the boards to go, he's like looking at Toffoli. He's like,
The craziest thing to me, like, I think you guys were calling for the coaching change a month ago, so I was like, I'm going to look up at their AHL team. First thing I see, they're in first place.
With the MVP.
Second thing I look up is the coach is Mitch Love, a former teammate of mine.
Oh, no shit. I played
And,
against. He's a tough motherfucker.
He was like this big, and
He
he's
coached
fighting,
the
he's fighting
Saskatoon
the
Blades,
"Yeah, he did. I played against him in junior. He was just chuck him. He used to fight Gordo."
Oh, yeah. He's got a fucking
Pinches throw.
nose like
And
Toucan
he did all
Sam, too.
he does all the Team Canada, like junior stuff. Like, this is the perfect up and coming coach, and he's in your same city. Like, it would have been the easiest move ever. to pull off.
Dan Bilesma, Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah,
Mitch
it
Love.
could have changed anything, but maybe they'll win the Calder Cup and they'll get a chance somewhere else. We'll
Shout
see.
out Mitch Love. Shout out to the Moose Jaw Warriors where he
Please
played
don't beat me
junior.
up.
Yeah, don't beat us up.
That's why I said his
That's what my
name.
dad scouts, Moose Jaw Warriors. There you go. Little shout out, tie it in there.
Yeah.
A little Mitch Love.
I can't-
Little love
Bump
for
in
Mitch
salary.
Love for my dad.
I can't find the tweet, Biz, but there was someone had mentioned that they basically Sutter lost his team early in the season. They beat someone like 5-2, 6-2, and he bag skated them the next day, like for no fucking real reason whatsoever. And it just kind of pissed off guys in the room. And, you've been beating that drum all year. And also, Huberdeau, the biggest point drop off in NHL history, I believe, is 115 down to like 55. And of course, it's not his fault. He had him playing his off wing to start the season, which was crazy. Like the guy. had his whole
They got
career
off
the
on
other
a
side.
horrible foot. I don't think there's any love lost there. I think it's so common that it's almost uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know how uncomfortable it would be going to the rink every day, being like a star on the team and hating your head coach that much. But it all started with when he felt disrespected, when he went down the tunnel, because Huberdeau was battling an injury this year. I believe it was a lower body injury, I think foot or ankle. And he was, Daryl Sutter, I don't think he necessarily cares when you're banged up and he wants you playing. He's old school, he's a farmer, and he's tough himself. And he was going down the tunnel to get treatment to try to kind of keep playing through that game. And then in the media after, they're like, "Where'd he go?" He's, "Oh, to take a shit." As a new guy in the team who respects himself as a player, who just had a season coming off of 100 and some odd points,
Yeah.
you want to feel like the big man on campus and feel appreciated. And I don't think Daryl did a very good job of that all year.
Yeah, and to the point of that too, the type of player he is, right, Merles? You've seen a lot of guys like these guys, right? Like, he is a playmaker. He's perimeter guy. Like, he's the disher. And he's not the superstar that is, for example, the guy that went the other way, Kachuk, who's like in the middle of all the shit. He's inside. He gets in there. Huberdeau is an outside playmaking, disher, magician type of player. And I think once it got hard for him early and settling in, I don't think that's like a sutsy player. I do know that he knows what he's getting a little bit with the skill set. But I think when it got it a little harder, then all of a sudden it cranks up.
Do you think it's a fair comparison, like very similar style to like a Joe Thornton, where he's a pass first mentality, he's a great power play guy,
not a big bodied guy that can pull guys on his back.
Not taking away from Joe Thornton, but you hear stories about who was the coach, Todd McClellan in San Jose, where he would do video sessions and he'd stop and he goes, "Joe, you got to shoot that," and he'd say, "Nope, I'm a passer," to the coach, right? That's like "No, I'm staying stubborn. This is how I play the game. This is how I've been successful, and this is how I need to play to be successful. I did it for fucking 10 odd years in Florida. It ain't gonna fucking change now."
Yeah.
All right, boys, I think it's about time to discuss the playoffs, so let's head over to that side. Before we go any further, here's a word from our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Created by fans for fans, Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. Right now, the playoffs are all the rage. They're going to hook you up there. If you want to use Game Time, go to Game 1 in this city, Game 5 in that city. Want to hit a concert? Boom. Game Time has you every which way but Sunday. It's possible to snag those seats with the Game Time app because it's the biggest last-minute price drops that you can find on the internet on seats that you never thought you could buy. The purchase process takes 2 taps in 10 seconds, and once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, no printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text so you can get to the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Game Time app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem the code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, let's get cracking on the playoffs here, boys. First up, Florida versus Boston. Florida was the second wildcard team, and Boston, of course, won the President's Trophy. Game 1 Monday at 7:30 in Boston. The Bruins are a minus 335 favorite for the series. Florida is a plus 270 underdog. During the regular season, Boston went 2-1-1, while Florida went 2-2. Merles, let's go to you first for your take on this series, buddy.
I love Monty. Unbelievable job. The guy just wins everywhere he goes. I'm going to keep it short. Bruins in 5.
Okay.
This series is crazy because when you look at it, the two teams and how the regular season went, I'm the same way. I'm like Bruins 4, maybe a gentleman's sweep in 5. Ullmark and Swayman, no matter who's in net, just these unreal season. And then Alex Lyon, who, credit to him, I mean, kind of like a little bit of a journeyman, just catches fire, basically gets them in along with Matthew Tkachuk. But the matchup is just so uneven, and the structure that the Bruins play compared to the lack of structure the Panthers play, it seems like it'll be a complete blowout. Then you say that, and it's the playoffs, and all any Bruins fan is thinking about right now is the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. I just don't see this happening with the Bruins team because of the depth. Tampa's stars went cold. That was Kucherov's career season, I believe. They all kind of, the stars went dry. Well, the Bruins, they have stars throughout the entire lineup. And yes, Tampa had Hedman as a true number one, and Sergachev was young. The Bruins have 2.5 number one defensemen. I'm giving Orlov the half. Since he's been in Boston, he's been a number one. McAvoy's been outstanding. Lindholm should be up for the Norris, and Orlov's been a monster. With the depth the Bruins have, the only worry is Bergeron left the last game with an injury. He didn't really skate. Marchand left the last skate a little bit early. Everyone says
Krejci
it's just
too.
but Krejci's fine, I guess. There is some soreness. The injury aspect for the Bruins, I don't know. I'm kind of just reaching at straws to create in my mind a way the Panthers could compete. But I'm actually hopping on with Merles here. I think it gets done. Gentlemen sweep in 5 for the Bruins.
I think gentlemen sweep too. The only snowball chance in hell that Florida has is if the goaltending implodes. And I just don't see that happening. You said it doesn't matter who's in net. They got the job done all season long. So even if Ullmark's weak, boom, Swayman get in there. And it has everything to do with the way that they play structured hockey. And hey, you mentioned a few of those guys maybe being a little bit dinged up. Well, they didn't even have them to start the year. So they know how to win without, maybe 1 or 2 stars missing out of lineup. And they were also winning when they were doing the what do you call the resting? The load management stuff. So, gentlemen sweep 5 games.
That's what I was going to say, too. I say 5 games. I'm right on that as well. Boston in 5. The Tampa thing, back when everyone's thinking about that, let's remember, too, they had that awesome season. You said it. Guys went dry. They got Columbus kicked their ass, pushed them around, bullied the shit out of them. And that's when they had to go get Coleman and Gaudreau, and then they had Gord and all those guys on that third line that changed like their whole team to where they were able to win. That ain't happening with Boston.
Yep.
They don't have that
That's
issue.
a good point.
They can play any way you want it. I give Florida a fighting chance to win 1 game in that series.
You're going
to see Tkachuk.
Hey,
he's going to be a problem.
But they got other guys too. They got Lomberg there. That Gudas, who I heard he's got a little bit of a fucked up shoulder, but he's playing through it right now. He's also a guy who will muck it up. So they do have a few guys that can drag him into the fight.
Yeah.
But definitely not enough of them like Columbus, where they're all drinking Torts' Kool-Aid, where they're like ghouls ready to go out there and just hit everything that moves.
And Barkov too, right? Like it'll be interesting. That's Jan's favorite player ever.
Yep.
But, they got guys for Hagee, but like then you can list off guys across the ice, and then fucking third line you got Bertuzzi, you got.
I just think Boston has the answers.
Also, as you're listening, today is Game 1. It's Marathon Monday in Boston, a pretty special holiday.
They'll be sober.
Patriots Day. The Red Sox play at like 10:30 in the morning. The marathon ends. I think it could be the drunkest crowd ever to attend an NHL playoff game. So who knows what the atmosphere in the Garden will be like?
Do Bruins fans do the wave?
The only time
they don't.
No, the only time I ever saw Bruins fans do a wave was the last ever playoff game at the Boston Garden versus the Devils in 1995. I was there, and we were so desperate to get one more game to keep the season going that we actually did a fucking wave in the Boston Garden. It kept going and going. It was something the fans hated, but we were so desperate we did a wave.
So here's my only prediction: if they're drunk enough to somehow or accidentally start a wave, I completely change my pick and I say Florida wins the series.
Okay.
But
they might have
like that's going to happen, right?
Here goes Biz again, picking both sides.
Yep. What would be the line?
Both sides.
What would be the line on Bruins fans starting a wave at home Marathon Monday?
Minus 1,100.
No, plus 1,100.
Plus 1,100. Yeah, plus 1,100.
So I think too, like that might be the game that Florida could get them. Game
The
one,
wave game.
wake them up. The wave game, everyone's blacked out. It didn't even happen. They're like, they show up to game 2. They're like, we're down one.
And
Talk
RA
radio is
has
going crazy in Boston. Sell the team. Move the team.
RA, first your pick in games.
I got Bruins in 4.
Okay, sweet.
Matty Tkachuk, he's done a great job. He dragged this team into the playoffs, basically, but I think that's as far as they're going to go, especially you talk about the goaltending matchup. I just don't see Florida winning a game.
And my other question, so Allmark starts game 1. Does Swayman even get a start? Do they ever even fuck around with that? Or if say they split at home, like would you ever go to Swayman game 3, or is it just Allmark's your guy for this run?
I think unless he has an atrocious game where you got to get him out of there. No, I don't think we'll see Swayman unless Allmark shits the bed.
Okay.
And if he does, then 100% we'll see.
That is sometimes the problem, and you saw it last year with Fleury and Talbot in Minnesota. Sometimes the goaltending situation gets a little confusing. All of a sudden, you hit the panic button and.
Gee, what do you got?
Gentleman sweep, just like you guys. Despite what Pasha says, I think the playoffs is all about depth and experience, mainly experience. So no one has more depth, no one has more experience than the Boston Bruins. So B's in 5.
Nobody's overthinking it.
If you're watching on YouTube, you see me working on the computer. I'm tracking all these picks just so we can come and rip on Biz at a later moment. But also, we're going to have the score bet up in Ontario where we're going to have 7 out of our 8 series win. You win the money. Witt won it last year.
I went 8 for 8. The only guy. For everyone chirp my picks. 8 for 8
Yeah, and I was
round.
just going to step in. I take your comment very seriously, Merles, and I'm going to make a prediction, another hot take.
You take every team?
I will have... what do you mean? I'm taking fucking Boston, gentleman sweep. I will have the best record coming out of playoffs as far as everyone's picks.
At the end of the cup or end of the first round?
At the end of each of them. I don't give a fuck. You tell me, buddy.
Biz.
Stradamus is back.
So we'll keep the
Biz
standings.
Stradamus is back.
See, playoff long standings of just series wins. It doesn't have to be the correct games between
Correct.
this little better.
Yes.
Let's all throw a little something in the pot.
Okay, I'm in. I love that. I love how we have an analytics tracker guy now.
Yeah.
That'll go, Merles.
Boy, bringing everything.
Yeah,
Swiss
we're
Army knife.
really like modern, setup with the analytics
Well,
tracking.
we have to because Pasha's tracking advanced analytics and shots from the slot on the left side,
Press
which is
this
a silly
door.
hand saver.
All right, next up, we got Tampa Bay, Toronto. Game 1 Tuesday at 7:30. Toronto is a minus 148 favorite. Tampa Bay is plus 125 during the season. Toronto went 2-0-1. Tampa Bay went 1-2-0. Biz, you're a Leafs fan among many other squads. How do you see this series?
Toronto is going to end the series in 6 games in Tampa Bay.
Okay.
They're ready to go. Pretty much a dream scenario, in my opinion, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They played this team last year, so they have a little, built-up animosity towards this team that knocked them out and stole that, finally advancing past the first round. They got to deal with all the media bullshit. Everybody's goddamn jobs are on the line. It's redemption time. They got them right where they want them. This is not only a battle of Tampa and Toronto. This is a battle of load management versus non-load management. John Cooper, he took a side. He picked a side. So it's me versus him, and the fact that I think he should have rested some of his players going into the playoffs, and now the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to bend them over and end this wonderful streak they've been on. Load management, Toronto Maple Leafs, Leafs in 6.
I will say this, Whit, before you give your pick,
No,
and then
go ahead.
I'll make
You
it
can
up.
do
You
it.
want me to go? I was at Game 6 working between the benches for that game in Tampa when Braden Point scored an OT to send it to Game 7. So I'm with you, too. I'm with you that they get it done in 6 with Toronto. It's so funny you said that they get their revenge, because that game was like, it was just on the brink. They had this series. They had it. They had them down. They're on the road. They just had to put this team away. They couldn't. I am always concerned about Leafs goaltending for obvious reasons. But I just think that this is their year. I don't know why. I haven't liked the Leafs at all. I still don't really even know if I really like them, but I got them getting over the hump this year in 6. Mark that down.
If they can't do it this year, it'll never happen. I just look at the overall season Tampa had, especially since January 1st. I think their penalty kill is like one of the worst teams, maybe the worst playoff team penalty kill since January 1st. The end of the season was a nightmare. They make that enormous deal that was just shocking to people what they gave up for Tanner Jeannot. I don't think he's playing, correct? I think he's injured. He's out.
Injury.
That's a huge loss because all they really relied upon was those third-line guys, and they brought him in to be one of those players. Hedman had a little bit of an off year. Kucherov was unreal. Point with a quiet 50-goal season, and Stammer. But you look at Toronto, and I just love the moves they made. I think McCabe's been great there. Riley's actually struggled this year defensively, but they're able to kind of pick him up. And from every Toronto media outlet I've read in terms of recapping their regular season, Giordano was way above expectations. He came back on a crazy cheap deal.
$800,000.
He's had a monster year. Samsonov was solid all year, and then you saw what Wall did. So they have everything working towards them finally getting out of the first round. Marner with a spectacular season, MVP type like performance. Everything just points to Toronto Maple Leafs finally doing it. Tampa Bay Lightning at 7.
Wow! Are you fucking kidding me? I want to read your quote. And obviously, I was nervous going into this series because of the
I don't care.
Goalie? Is it the goalie?
I'm not going to change your mind
it's
with
just
this.
the Leafs.
But this is Leafs captain John Tavares. Don't let the pressure outweigh the pleasure of this opportunity. These guys are excited for this moment. They know what's on the line with. That's a ballsy pick, buddy. I don't know why all of a sudden last minute you went
I
off
switched.
the rails.
I as of last night, we were in Borrellis, I think, till about midnight. I was like, I'm on the Leafs. And I woke up and I was going over. I'm like, I've said long ago I picked the Tampa to win their first cup that they got. Their second one. The first year I picked against them. And then I said I'm never betting against them. I'm not going to do it until they don't get back there. If they lose first round, I won't be surprised. But give me Vasilevsky. Give me Hedman. Give me what these guys have done in this run. I know they're exhausted, but this is why my main thing was finally, actually, everyone says Toronto can do it. Before it was, oh no,
this is going to be the perfect story.
Exactly. That's when Toronto would actually continue to somehow choke and blow this entire thing up when they were the favorites for the first time and they still couldn't get it done. So I understand that I'm way kind of as the underdog right now in this pick, but Sergachev was a monster this year, and Tampa, while sucking throughout the second half of the year, they are able, in my mind, to just turn it on because they've done it before, and it goes 7 again, and they win Game 7 again in Toronto.
Bro,
I agree with Witt on Tampa. I mean, I've talked enough about Hedman, Vasi. Champions don't go away easy, but still, I got Leafs in 7.
Gee, what do you got?
Same thing as Merle's there. I got Leafs in 7. We can't forget who's playing goalie for the Tampa Bay Lightning, though. Andre Vasilevsky.
And he hasn't been good.
I know, but he's still the best goalie in the world. He is still the best goalie in the world. So I have Toronto in 7 reluctantly. I'm worried to pick them, but...
Here's a hot take for you. I think Vasilevsky gets pulled twice in this series.
Wow.
There you go. Book it.
And Biz.
Biz Stradamus is back. What the fuck are you looking at, Quater?
And Biz, if Toronto can't do it this year...
it's going to be.
Obviously, Dubas is gone. Obviously, Keefe's gone.
They're going to behead them in the town square in Toronto.
Yeah,
off with their heads, man.
Player, what do you do? I guess why even get into it? Because they may win. But
it's not happening.
That's why they're going to lose, is because they're actually finally.
Yeah, that's why I say Leafs in 6. But I'm like, I kind of.
John Tavares didn't invite the boys.
I kind of want what you're saying.
John Tavares didn't invite the boys to Muskoka last summer to have a little powwow to talk about the season before to fucking go out in the first round to the exact same team. It's not happening. John Cooper, Tampa Bay Lightning. It was a great run.
Same team.
It's now the Leafs' time.
Yeah, they got a lot of tread in the tires the last 3 years. Believe it or not, I'm going Toronto in 6. Yeah, if Vasi is good as he is, I think he might be as tired as the rest of those guys. He hasn't been his usual stellar self, and he could steal a game or so. But yeah, I think this is Toronto's year to win a first-round series.
And remind you, talking about load management, I will be not tugging off at all during this playoff run. So I'm expecting a long
serious load management.
I'm going celibate. I'm not abusing the Four Seasons towels at that place for 6 weeks, and then we go on the road for the finals. I will not. And yeah, I'm going to be a little bit stressed out, but that's why you do the breathing exercises and you mix in a few hikes, right?
A couple cold showers.
Do the hot contrast.
The one last thing, the Tampa loss that I think doesn't get enough discussion was McDonough. and they had to move him
Yes.
for cap reasons. But him and Cernak, they were they were the shutdown pair, and so that is the one that I think's really kind of crushed them this second half, is having that beast, the Mick Truck, not in the lineup. But still, I'm on Tampa. I know I'm behind the 8 ball already, but let's see what happens.
All righty, next up, we have the Islanders in Carolina. A very special guest coming in right now, Frankie Borrelli.
Oh, in his building.
Are we ready for this? Holy shit! Thank God we had Pasha.
Pasha did a good job describing why the Devils can win. What can the Islanders do, Frankie?
You caught me at a bad time. I got to take an absolute dump right now.
That's not good before you talk about the Islanders.
The Islanders, baby.
Shit my pants sitting right here right now. New York Islanders, as we know, are my life. So this is everything to me, and I do think that they're going to win this series. 2019, we got swept by the Carolina Hurricanes. I think this is an amazing matchup for the Islanders. We avoided the Boston Bruins. If you would have told me a week ago that not only were the Islanders going to make the playoffs, but they were going to avoid the Boston Bruins because the Penguins, who are dead now, by the way, so rest in peace to the Penguins, but the Penguins were going to lose, and then all of a sudden the Islanders were going to win against Montreal, and Florida was going to lose the last game. It's just crazy what ended up happening. So I think there's a lot of juice getting into this team right now. Matt Barzal is back. They went 14-7-2 without him, which is insane, to rally around your star player being hurt. Sorokin's out of his fucking mind. The guy led the league in shutouts. He should win the Vezina if it wasn't for Ullmark. I think they're just going to give it to Ullmark just because he's on the best team of all time. But Sorokin, and I agree with you, Biz, he's the most valuable player to his team, one of the most valuable players to his team this year. If you take him out, they may be out.
Barzal texted me that. He heard what I said on the podcast about him potentially coming back and Sorokin and saying how he's the true MVP as far as what he means to his team. And going back to dumps and taking the dump, I feel like the Islanders took the biggest dump shit right before the All-Star break, and they got all the cobwebs out of their system. They went that 13-game stretch where they went 3-7-3, where they averaged 1.69 goals for. Oof. They were boring to watch, and they still are boring to watch, but they've learned that they're almost back to that system where they kind of drag you into the swamp, but yet they get that opportunistic goal scoring. And now with the Barzal coming in, which I got to throw it over to you guys, him not playing in lead-up games, but then all of a sudden being ready for playoffs is absolute bizarro land for me. That reeks of Lou all over it, controlling that situation. Why was he not playing in these must-win games leading in?
I don't understand it, but I read an interesting thing today. It would be more in Pasha's things. There's all these crazy stats, defensive stats, that since he's been out, the Islanders are in the top 10. When he was there, they were in the bottom 5. So that's just like when he's in there, he's playing loosey-goosey, and then maybe everybody else is playing loosey-goosey. He's gone. They went back to their roots kind of, and went to that Islanders defensive shutdown.
So do you think that there's a possibility with Lou knowing all those numbers, because they have a team of analytics and they have a big staff? Do you think that Lou could potentially be seeing those numbers and saying, hold him back here, we got a good thing going, let's not fuck up the mojo by inserting him in the lineup?
I don't know like that crazy, but I think it's a great sign for the Islanders that they're starting to win in that direction. Now your best player, he may listen to this and hear that he's got to turn up the defensive game, but he can still score. So I really like the Islanders.
I'm going to say no to that. They held him out. I'm going to say that he had a slow recovery. It was, lower body. He was like slowly making his way back. He didn't have enough practices to join the team when he was fully being able to join the team. I know that he wanted to play in the last 2 games and lose. Like, you haven't even had a practice yet. We're not just throwing you in to a must-win situation. You haven't even had contact in a practice yet. So let's just wait. Let's make sure you can get full practices in, and let's just get this guy going. Is it a risk to not have your best player play in the last 2 games in a must-win situation? Yes. But like Merles was saying, the system was there. You had Hudson Fasching playing on the first line. The guy was playing out of his fucking mind. By the way, one of the greatest pickups by Lou Lamoriello of all time. Nobody knew who this fucking guy Hudson
I knew
Fasching
who he was. He was good in college.
If you looked at his hockey DB stats, he always got a chance on like a shitty situation. They would bring him up in Arizona. He'd play for 5 games. He'd put up 0 points and like a -5. They'd send him back down. He'd put up like 20 points in the AHL. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? He'd go to Buffalo. They'd bring him up for 4 games, 0 points, -5. They'd send him back down, 22 goals in the AHL. Lou's like, let's bring this fucking guy in. He's got 10 goals for the Islanders. He's by far the hardest working guy on the ice every single second. You pair him up with Zach Parise, who, by the way, 21 goal scorer, hasn't missed a game for the New York Islanders in 2 years.
And Pasha
164 games.
Pasha watched him with the Devils, and he guaranteed he scores at least 1, if not 2, big goals in this series.
Dude, he's a gamer.
Yep.
Nobody works harder than that guy. He's fucking. How old is he now? Like 38.
He's a year younger than me, so he's turning 39 this year.
It's psychotic how hard he works, and he's just a fucking pest out there. He makes guys take penalties. He's amazing. Who do we need to show up in this series? Because we're talking a lot about the Islanders. I know the Hurricanes are good.
They're real good.
They're really good. They are 9-8-1 in their last like 18 games. They're sliding. They don't have Pacioretty. They don't have Svechnikov. They don't even have who's their goalie? Is it Freddie Anderson? Is it Ranta?
Yeah. They don't have much proof in goaltending in playoffs.
So I like where we're going with this. You see how I'm starting to
you're building your
I'm
case.
Starting to build up a little bit. Who do we need to show up is Bo Horvat. Has he slid because he doesn't have Matt Barzal with him? 100%. Will that just spark? I think that's going to be the difference.
What's
Can
your
they
pick?
just spark?
How many games?
New York Islanders in 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you have, Bet?
So Frankie really does a great job, the same way Pasha does. You get these diehards, and they make you believe that it can happen. And I think the Islanders are a dangerous team. As somebody was discussing who the Bruins didn't want, we said Islanders. You don't want the Islanders because of the goalie and the ability to steal a series. Having said all that, and in my mind thinking the Islanders got a great chance, I think the Hurricanes win this series. My main thing is, special teams in the playoffs is so important. It pretty much can carry a team. It can kill a team. The Islanders had the third worst power play in the NHL this year, 15%. If you want to round up, you could say 16%. They have no ability to score on the power play. They have no creativeness. I butchered that word. They aren't able to carry themselves by getting power plays and scoring goals and building momentum. On the flip side, Carolina, I think, finished number 1 on the penalty kill. They are animals in the D zone. They play man-on-man, 5-on-5. Somehow, man-on-man usually does not work in the NHL. Guys are too skilled. Well, they've figured it out. They are just on you all the time. There's no breakdowns. And because of, I think, their ability to play that good defensively against a team who does not score very well, even though Sorokin's there, I think Carolina gets this series, but I think it's going 7 as well. I think it's going to be a real good test for them. I just think that their scoring ability and their defensive play against a team who can't score is going to, in the end, win out. But it's going to be a good one.
Merles, what do you got?
So you had Canes in
Canes
7.
in 7.
I have the Islanders at plus 151 on the Barstool Sportsbook in 6.
Oh. Wow, in 6 games.
Win at home, and then we go to Borrellis.
Merles is not far off of Frankie for his Islander heart either, though. You're like right there, too. I'm going Canes in 6 because
nobody's talking about the Canes.
Well,
it's like, guys.
Everyone's giving the Islanders so much credit. They are what they are. They got in by like this much. They lost the Washington Penguins should have got in. They blew it. They shouldn't even be in the playoffs, okay? They have life. You look at Carolina's D. They're big. They're lanky. They can skate. They can play D. Like the old boxing saying, styles make fights. Carolina's going to be so comfy in this boring-ass game. They don't care. They can play that game. They can skate. They're going to outskate them. Their D are much more mobile, up and down the ice at creating. I just think it's going to be over in 6. I think it sets up really well for the Caps to be comfortable against this team.
The Canes.
Sorokin, okay. Sorokin,
Canes, yeah.
okay. Sorry, what did I say?
You said the Caps.
That's okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the Canes. The Canes in
No
6.
Svechnikov is such a kick in the dick, and it was shocking that they didn't go out and get someone.
They got Jesse Puljujärvi.
the Bison King.
The Bison King.
Licking his boogers.
I think the Islanders give them all they
in the
can
corner,
handle.
just the wrong ones.
If Carolina's offense does go dry because of Sorokin and because of the lack of game breakers, which I've always said is their killer, is that they don't have a superstar. Aho is right at the cusp, but I just still think the overall team structure of Carolina is going to lead them to win, but it's going to be a hell of a series.
I'm picking based on mojo, and I'm basing on the fact that I want Carolina to win so bad in advance because I want that organization to kind of go on a run, but I just feel like it's going to be a nightmare, and the Islanders fans are going to drag us into it, and I'm okay rooting for it. So I'm going Islanders in 7.
Wow. Islanders in 7.
I'm going Islanders in 7. And I don't even think that that's like a crazy off-the-board pick.
No.
I think that probably media and if you polled the general public, I think most people would lean towards.
I think this is the series where the upset is talked about the most.
This is the upset series.
Out of all of them, I think.
It's the upset series.
Yes, I agree.
Grinelli's got the Isles in 7. Also, Carolina's a minus 186 favorite for gambling purposes. They beat them 3 out of 4 times during the season, but throw that out the window. I think they're going to be very tight games.
They could be boring games.
Yeah,
which
tight
is good for
slash
the
boring.
Islanders, I guess.
Exactly. That plays into their hands. Of course, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals two years in a row within the last few years. And I think Sorokin is going to be the huge difference here. I got the Islanders in 7. As much as I'd like to see the Canes go on,
same here, buddy.
The Isles, man.
You forget about the 2021, I believe it was. They were Yanni Gourde goal away from winning the Stanley Cup. It was Islanders, it was Tampa, Game 7, and they were both going to crush Montreal. So I don't know if the time's passed, but it's going to be a good one.
Shorthanded goal. We lost 1-0. I just can't.
I was with you.
I can't believe it.
Oh,
he's all right.
Well, I'm happy.
Josh Bailey
I'm happy for you guys.
Corner on the fucking power play. It's like you have 3 guys in the corner. Why do you have a 4th guy going into the corner in your defensive zone?
I turned into a therapy session.
I love this.
We get talking.
Hey, and I look forward. Thank you for having us here. I look forward to watching you and your father on another Islanders run. And Borrellis packed every night, and that is honestly what you guys do with the fandom here, with the Islanders Nation and everything is fun to watch.
It's in the last 2 years in 2020, 2021, it was like those are just memories that I'll have for the rest of my life. Like I'm a big advocate for, like, you have to enjoy the ride. Like, I hate when people don't. They're like, oh, show me, like, talk to me after the Stanley Cup final. It's like, no, the fun part is right now. This is when we're having fun. The videos, the pictures, hugging my dad, hugging my friends.
You won the game in Boston with all of us there.
Stu Feiner licking your guys' faces.
Do I want to win the Stanley Cup? Yes, but I'm not like it's not like I don't want that. But it's the ride, man. Enjoy it. Every fan should enjoy the ride. Every game, live and die that game, because you don't know when the next one's going to come.
Great point, buddy.
Wow,
thanks for breakdown, Frankie.
He's my favorite fan.
Coming in.
By the way, I'm going to play golf with this guy after. I could be in trouble playing golf.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
He might be pounding.
He's feeling it
by
right
me.
now. He's feeling it right now.
What a great fan. The Islanders are lucky.
All right, last one in the East. The Battle of the Hudson, Rangers Devils, game 1 Tuesday, 7 o'clock in New Jersey. This series is a pick'em as far as the odds makers are concerned. In 4 meetings during the regular season, the Devils went 3-0-1. The Rangers went 1-2-1. Ami, let's go to you first on this one. You're right next to me.
Yeah, and I'm riding the Rangers. I'm riding them. I'm on them. I'm going with them. They're deep. They're fast. They're strong. I know that Pasha gave us his breakdown, and I'm fine. I think Jersey's a really good team. I like their D better. They're bigger. They're a little nastier. They're a little meaner. The speed thing, I get it, but I just think you go with the experience. You go the way they're built, top to bottom. They've got all these extra weapons. It took them time to kind of iron out the kinks with some of their new guys getting put in certain spots. But I think it's the Rangers in 7 games. It's going to be a hell of a series. It's going to be an awesome series to follow and watch. And I believe Merles, you and Pasha are going. You're going to games.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Perfect. That'll be fun to follow too. Pasha, you're going to be losing your mind.
He will be. He's going to be there in attendance watching the redheaded stepchilds get their fucking ass kicked. I got Rangers in 5 games.
Whoa. Wow.
I think with goaltending, you touched on the back end. I think that they're going to turn those fucking forwards into soft puppy shit like they are with no experience. And the fact that you disrespected Kane and Tarasenko, 2 guys who have hoisted the Stanley Cup, and within recent memory, I think they're going to bring out that playoff experience. And you're talking about the end of the regular season and how they haven't really wowed you. Do you think that these guys care about these meaningless games towards the end of the season? No. They're saving it all up for this playoff run they're about to go on. I got the Rangers in 5. I was going to say 6, but you pissed me off enough with you coming on earlier, talking advanced analytics and shitting on Kane. And I figured out the bet. If they beat them out in the first round this year, you have to get a Patrick Kane face paint and go to a Rangers game in the second round.
Done.
That's easy. I'm leaving you off the hook with that one.
Can I just say this?
I'm so confident in this pick. I think it's going to probably happen in 6, but I'm hoping 5. I'm saying 5.
Are you going left cheek or right cheek for the tattoo?
I haven't figured it out. I got to cover up a few of my pimples on my ass, so probably over one of those. But depending on which one's the biggest that day.
Lindgren, Fox, Keandre Miller,
Beasts,
Trouba. Hughes coming down the wing, cuts in the middle. Then you got Mikkola and Schneider.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a rock steady.
That's a great D.
I mean,
watch the punishment these fucking little fast forwards take.
Sure, they're bigger, but the Devils' D-core is way more mobile. You got a guy like Damien Severson on the third pair. Are you kidding me? And then Luke Hughes, I don't think he'll start, but if he ever hops in there, He wowed in his couple games he played. I get the Rangers are bigger, but they're going to get fucking toasted.
But that's helmet's going to end
Trouba,
up in the fucking Raptors.
I get Trouba's a mean player, but he is a liability defensively.
Not the second half of the year.
Oh
not since the helmet throw against Chicago. He's been really good. He's been really good.
You know what? You know you're a bit insecure about it when you don't resort to pumping up your own team, but trying to discriminate another.
I already pumped up my own team
after
enough.
Trouba, Kane, and Tarasenko. Okay, buddy. We'll see.
What do you got for us, Wit Dog?
With Dallas, Minnesota, this is the other series that I've never been more on the fence. I was all in on New York throughout the season. And then kind of talking to Pasha and seeing the Devils, it's like really, really hard to pick against them. I am going with the Rangers in 7. The main reason being the Devils off the rush are the best team in the league. It might be Edmonton, at least in the East. No one plays and scores off the rush like the Devils. But for the most part, playoffs are different in that way. Playoffs are different in the neutral zone. You're not able to create all of these chances off the rush that you are in the regular season. If they're able to do it, I'll 100% eat my words. But I think you're going to have to score more off offensive zone play, cycling down low, and scoring that way. No doubt the Devils could do that. They got a bigger, meaner third and fourth line. That fourth line for New Jersey, it's Bastian, it's Wood, and it's McLeod. The Rangers don't have a fourth line like that. That could be a difference maker. But I'm with Biz in the fact that like Patrick Kane might have not looked like himself since he came over. A lot's going on. Man, this is Patrick Kane we're talking about here. He is not over the hill. He's got plenty to give. I think he's going to show up and be a stud in this series. I think that Shesterkin is the biggest factor. You got one of the best goalies in the world who was sick at the end of the season. He caught fire. He got going. And the ability for the Rangers to just slow it down in the neutral zone, if they can't do that, they're fucked. No doubt. But I think they'll be able to. And because of that, I think they end up getting this win. The other thing is when you talk about Meyer and all these players up front for the Devils, well, you're kind of forgetting about how good Kreider can be. And in the playoffs, he's a beast. That's a playoff-type player. You're forgetting that Zibanejad is so sick defensively and offensively. Like, that guy has already proven it in the playoffs. And I experienced the first time we made it with Pittsburgh and Ottawa. Game 1, we got outshot 20-0 in the first round, in the first game, first period. We weren't as close to a team as the Devils are, and we weren't ready to go on a run, but it's still that first experience. Jack Hughes is going to be in for a higher pace. He's an unbelievable player, but I just think the Rangers, and having done it last year, and having Chris Drury. There are some people in this world who all they do is win. All they do is build teams to win, which he's now doing. I think that just having him, the deals they made, the goalie they have, it's going to be an unreal series. Definitely my most looked forward to series. I can't wait. Just the fact they're playing each other. Seven games in Jersey. Rangers get the win.
The Merman?
Yeah, well, last summer or spring, I was the only guy here carrying the Rangers flag. So I made a lot of friends in the Rangers. Doing it again. Experience, goaltending. It's going to take them a little bit. Rangers in 7.
G?
I got Rangers in 7 as well.
All of us?
I'm predicting a monster series from the kid line, in particular
There you
Hedl.
go.
I think Hedel's going to come to play, put on an absolute show. I think the biggest mismatch in the entire playoffs is the goaltending in this series. I think Igor is so ahead of everything New Jersey has in goal. So I got Rangers in 7.
We haven't even mentioned Trocheck.
Trocheck's going to have a series.
He's going to
have a
fucking
series.
hammer guys through the middle, too.
He's
going to put a wet blanket on any offense you thought you were going to create, Pasha.
I think the experience they had last year, too, in that Western Conference Finals run, I think that's so much more valuable than people think. Eastern Conference Finals, I'm sorry.
I think that the fourth line for New York's also being overlooked. Like
They're smaller, though.
Yeah, Gaudreau won a cup. That Mott's pretty good. He was decent when they had that couple series wins with Vancouver with shorthanded goals. So it's not like they got these scrubs. What are you laughing at?
VC's been great.
Trocheck's going to...
The fact you guys haven't even mentioned Nico Heischer's name is a joke. He's the second best defensive forward in the fucking league. Show him some respect.
All right.
Who's first?
All right, what do you got?
Bergeron.
I got
Heischer.
Jersey in 7. I think it's going to be a classic
Heischer.
series. Battle of Hudson, always a great take way back in the day of the early mid-90s when they went head-to-head quite a bit. But, Yeah, I don't know. I just think New Jersey's feeling themselves, looking good. They don't have the advantage in net, but I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. I got Jersey in 7. I think there'll be at least
that makes me nervous.
I think there'll be at least 3 games that go in overtime, too,
it does.
as well.
RA being on your side makes me nervous.
If we were all on the Rangers, it was completely over. So now at least we have the chance.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at ZipRecruiter. When it comes to scoring great hires for your business, you may be up against some obstacles, like lots of applicants, but difficulty finding the right ones for your job. Or finding time to hire while running your business, plus trying to ensure workplace safety. That's why you need ZipRecruiter on your team. No matter the industry, healthcare to manufacturing to business services, ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/SC. First, when you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent out to over 100 top job sites. Then, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology hustles for you to find people with the right experience for your job and invites them to apply. In fact, check out this stat. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So add ZipRecruiter to your roster to help you win the hiring game. To try ZipRecruiter for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/SC. That's ZipRecruiter.com/SC. ZipRecruiter.com/SC. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, heading over to the Western Conference in the Central Division. Seattle was the first wild card, but they're moved into the Central Division because of the way it's set up. They're playing Colorado. Game 1 Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Colorado has no Landeskog for the entire playoffs. I think we're kind of waiting for him to come back. Unfortunately, he's not going to be. Colorado lost over 450 man games to injury this year, but they finished hot as hell. The Nate Dogg was on a tear. Colorado is minus 286 in the series. Seattle is plus 230. Colorado went 1-1-1 versus Seattle during the year. Seattle went 2-0-1, but again, I don't put much stock on that. Biz, what do you got for us on this one, buddy?
I'm going to go Colorado in 5. I think that last game was huge. McKinnon getting that hat trick, basically knowing, hey, if we got any shot, we need to get some guys healthy and some rest after this first round before we go off to the second round. And I think they had an unreal push towards the end of the season. Credit those guys for what they did. They're big boys, Rantanen and him specifically. I believe Makar was a little bit banged up, but will he be starting playoffs?
I haven't seen anything.
That to me, because they're playing Seattle, isn't so much of a concern. Like they would probably be able to rest him like 1 or 2 games if he still even is a little bit banged up. Just because they got some other puck moving defensemen. They got Byron back there. They got Girard. They're solid. They got decent goaltending with Gorgiev, and then just overall, I just think their superstars can elevate them past a team like Seattle. And McKinnon and Rantanen will continue to be able to do their thing like they did, especially towards the end of the regular season. I think that Seattle's going to get a win at home. I think it's going to be pretty impressive what we see from their fan base, but I just don't see the defending Stanley Cup champions losing to a team with basically a second-year expansion team with not much experience.
Peter Baugh of The Athletic reported that Cale Makar will be ready for the playoffs.
There you go. So even more reason to pick him
You
in
said
5. I said 5. I think Seattle's going to get a big win at home in Game 3. And then
now I hear that about Makar. I say 6. I'll keep it quick. Colorado 6. Everything you said.
This is my only sweep in the first round. I think Colorado drums them. No disrespect. I think 2 weeks ago we said how much of a great turnaround it was for Seattle. Hackstall deserves a ton of credit. Beniers should win Rookie of the Year, but he slowed down at the end. Understandable. First 82-game season. There's just no firepower to match what Colorado has. Not only that, Philip Grubauer and Martin Jones. It's just that the goaltending, I'm not going to say inexperience, but kind of inconsistency going up against the Cup champs, even without Landeskog. I think Colorado waxes them in 4.
Colorado in 4. What do you got, Merles?
Yep, you know me. I got my number 29 Avs jersey cleaned and pressed, hanging in the closet, ready for a long run again.
Wow.
Avs in 4.
Mr. G?
I think Seattle makes this tough for him. I think every game is going to be close. I have Colorado in 6, But like I said, I think it's going to be a super close series. Colorado's played a lot of hockey over the past few years. No Landeskog, who's just such a catalyst to that offense and defense. Makar's playing hurt. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a close series, and I think Colorado takes it, but I think Seattle definitely keeps it close.
I got Colorado in 5. The goaltender matchup, doesn't really matter who Seattle throws out there. It's just too much firepower, even without Landeskog. What we've seen out of Nate this year, I mean, his goals per game, or rather points per game, was second only to McDavid. I think he keeps it rolling, and Colorado keeps it rolling in 5. So, all right. Well, is that unanimous? We all pick Colorado, right?
Yep.
No shock there, really. All right, next up. Oh, this is a good old rivalry. Minnesota versus Dallas. Of course, Dallas used to be in Minnesota. Game 1 tonight, 9:30. Dallas is our minus 150 favorite. Minnesota plus 125. During the season, Dallas went 2-0-2. Minnesota went 2-2. Whit, we'll go to you first on this one. You said you were very intrigued by this series. Why is that?
You go to me. I actually wish I wasn't going. I still haven't decided. This series is so evenly matched. The reason in the end I'm going to go with Dallas in 7 is I'm kind of shocked at how nobody's talking about them. And I understand with what Minnesota's done without Kaprizov and how they figured it out this year, it's a pick that's kind of popular. But Dallas, they were outstanding. And this Wyatt Johnson has brought them secondary scoring they didn't have. Jamie Benn has this monster comeback year, and then you always look for the goaltending. And if you remember what Ottinger did against the Calgary Flames, I think in Game 7 he had about 60 saves. He was out of this world. They have him. I know Flower's been great. I know Minnesota's goaltending is not exactly weak at all, but I just think Pavelski, that game breaker. You got the fact that Jason Robertson has established himself as a top player in the league. I just think Dallas is severely underrated, undervalued, and because of that, while being an amazing series, they're going to get it done in 7. Another series that could be a little boring, I think Minnesota has to play that way to try to shut them down, but another guy on Dallas, Heiskanen, I think he broke the record for most points in a season by a Dallas defenseman, a not talked about enough superstar. I know I keep saying that word, but that's what he is. So Dallas and Minnesota are going to have a great one, but Stars in 7.
Merles, let's go to you next, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going with the Wild in 6.
Wow.
I really like this Matt Boldy that stepped up, and I think especially with the way Pittsburgh lost this year, the regret of trading Marc-Andre Fleury is going to become even bigger, and he's going to steal the series. And
you think that he's going to be playing over Gustafsson?
I think so. You got to go with the experience.
What?
No, I don't.
Wow. I think this is the toughest decision for a head coach to decide who to put in, because I think Gustafsson's just been lights out, and they've shared the net from a pretty even standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know if it's printed out yet, but that's what my gut feeling is. You go with the experience to start, especially on the road. And then if you lose, then you can go back at home, I guess.
Kaprizov, what's his status?
And Hartman got one game. Did that end of the year too when he walloped Ehlers?
I'm going to go Dallas in 7, and it's just because we talked about sometimes that feng shui gets thrown off a little bit when you throw in a new guy, although it might be the reason they end up winning the series, that you get Boldy who's popped off and is helping carry a line where all of a sudden you get Kaprizov back and you split them up and you got this 1-2 punch. So now they're really balanced offensively with going against Dallas. I just feel like expectations are very high internally for Dallas, and they look at this window with Ben and Seguin not getting any younger, where they have enough good leadership in that locker room with those guys, and yet these young guys making these huge impacts. And Whit, you touched on it. Having that ace back there is something that Minnesota doesn't really have. I feel like they just get it done collectively as a group, where Heiskanen is just, you look at all these Stanley Cup teams, Pittsburgh has the Letang. You look at Washington, they have that Carlson. You look at when the Kings did it, they had the Doughty. So that's very important, along with what we know Ottinger can do. So
Kaprizov's good to go for the playoffs too.
But sorry, Biz, just quickly, I forgot to mention Eriksson Ek, a huge part of that team.
He's injured.
Huge
loss.
Went down. That was a kick in the dick for them. He's a shutdown.
Monster year.
He's who Robertson would have to deal with. He's 6'3". He's enormous. He's tough to get around. So even if he plays, he's not at 100%. That's another thing that leads towards Dallas getting it done.
I got Dallas in 7.
So how many?
7.
7.
He went 6. Minnesota.
6, wow. I think this is the hardest series. I think this is a 7-game series. I think it's the most evenly matched one. And I'm sticking with my guy. I'm going with Minnesota to
on the road.
Take it.
Game 7.
Game 7. Take
Mr. G.
I also have Minnesota in 7. I just think that this Minnesota team, I don't want to call them a team of destiny because that's what I've been calling the Bruins all season, but it's just there's something about this team, like the way they do the tarps off ever since Revo got there. There's just something about this.
They do leave you blue-balled, though. This is the type of team that leaves you blue-balled every goddamn time.
Everything in me says to pick Dallas, but I'm going with Minnesota in 7.
Okay.
I'd like to see Mini go on. I mean, they're like, kind of like Toronto in some sense. They can't get out of the first round, but I don't know. After what we saw out of Ottinger last year, what you were just saying, he was incredible. Robo's a bona fide superstar in the league right now. They got 2 lines they got to try to shut down. Similar to Minnesota with Boldy and Kaprizov, but I don't know. It's going to be going to 7 games in Dallas. I'm going to take Ottinger in Dallas in 7. So
interestingly enough, I said Heskinen's the best defenseman in the series, but overall Minnesota has a better 6-man unit. Dallas is a little weak at the bottom. Ryan Suter's not what he used to be. Colin Miller's a good player, but playoffs, I don't know. And I just think having Heiskanen playing 28 minutes tonight is the difference maker on the defensive side.
All right, boys. Last 2 here in the Pacific. Winnipeg was the second wildcard team, so they got put in the Pacific going against Vegas. Game 1 Tuesday at 9:30. Vegas is a minus 175 favorite. Winnipeg is a plus 145 during the year. Vegas was 3-0 versus them. Winnipeg was 0-2-1. Ami, let's go to you first on this one, buddy.
Oh, I on game notes, we were down in Tampa, and I went after the Jets. Like, I have this vision of the Jets in my head when I saw them play. It's just like, they're huge. They have depth. They've got good players, like skilled, high-end talent. They're like, they can shut down. They're on top of you. Hellebuck factor. And then they just fell off. They went to sleep. And Bonus had to give it to them. Game notes gave it to them, and they kind of woke up at the end. So I'm kind of back on the Jets again. And even though I've always been on Vegas, I always like Vegas. Every year I pick it's going to be Vegas in the final in the West. Like, they're going to make it to the final, and they've disappointed. So I have been on the Jets. I'm going to pull the old Whit Dog move. I'm flip-flopping. I had Jets in 7. I'm getting off now, and I'm going Vegas in 6.
Wow.
Okay. So switch the winner and less games to get it done.
Well, if you get it to 7, they would have won. They would have had to get to 7 to beat them. They're not going to get to 7.
Was that Vegas and
6?
I'm also Vegas in 6. I do this every year. I said on the broadcast yesterday during the intermission, I pick Vegas. I want them to go all the way to the finals so we can have a Chiclets trip to Vegas.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go to Vegas again. Still recovering from Chiclets Cup 14 years ago there.
I think home ice advantage plays such a massive factor in this series. Like, Winnipeg's a tough place to travel to and to play in. They got the whiteout going. I mean, we know what Vegas provides. I think
whiteout.
I hate to be poopy.
Why? Because they have lots of spelling mistakes?
I hate to be poopy pants on Winnipeg. They're just not a very exciting team for me to see advance, and I'm not shitting on Canada here. I just much rather see Jack Eichel and Vegas and see what they can do, maybe going on a little bit of run here. And especially, I don't know who's going to get the start net. I would imagine it's Jonathan Quick.
I think would be Brossoit.
Brossoit has been playing great, and he's got confidence right now. That might be an overthinking situation, but he's been playing good. I'm okay with it if they give him the net. If it would have been LA Vegas, I would have been very disappointed if Quickie wouldn't have got the net for that spite tour. But I think I'm going to go with Vegas in 7, and not surprised if every team wins their home games.
I think Vegas trucks them. I think Vegas gets it done in 5. The only chance they have is if Hellebuck, who will be up for the Vezina, has been outstanding. If he just completely stands on his head, similar. I guess when you look at the Islanders, I think the Islanders have a way better chance of beating Carolina than Winnipeg does in this series. They do have the better goalie, but Brossoit, after coming off the surgery, he didn't lose in regulation this year. It was 11 games I think he played. Maybe he might have got pulled once, but 7-0-3. Looked great at the end of the year. So you got Quick as the safety blanket, but Brossoit's good. Vegas looked awesome. When everyone wrote them off, and we had a Chiclets episode maybe in February just ripping on them. What is going on? I think Eichel had a real tough 10-game stretch. He's picked it up. Stone's back. I think Vegas is a very good team, not talked about enough. And I just think with Winnipeg's season, they did get it done at the end, but it's been overall kind of a disgusting second half for that team. And also, I don't think Cole Perfetti's status is known right now in terms of him playing or not. So I got Vegas in 5.
Mr. G, what do you got?
Jack Eichel, 476 regular season games played, 0 playoff games. This guy has been waiting for this game.
Heavy sack.
He's been waiting for this since he lost the national championship with BU. I got Vegas in 5. I think this is going to be an easy series for them. I think Jack Eichel completely takes over on a Conn Smythe run here.
Winnipeg getting no respect here.
Well,
I don't. Well, you have a future on him, so it doesn't count.
I do, but I also think they got a distinct advantage in goaltending with Hellebuck. I mean, he had a couple off nights this season, but I think he's still a bona fide number 1 goalie, and he's going to be the difference here. I got Winnipeg in 6.
R.A. rooting for the whiteout.
I had Winnipeg in
Shocker.
7. I was kind of there, and then I audible.
R.A. rooting for the whiteout. You think he doesn't want to go to Winnipeg?
Hellebuck's going to steal a couple games. And, yeah, I do got 60
I mean, it could happen.
So I got to root for that, too. I mean, naturally. All right, last on.
Can we get a number of teams you have a future on that are in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, we can tell you right now.
It's got to be at least 6.
No, I got L.A., Winnipeg.
That Ottawa future from a couple years ago is still gone.
Well, then they're gone. Let's see. The Islanders, Florida, Boston, and I think that's it. I can double check after.
Holy shit, he has every team.
5 teams.
He has every team.
You got to spread the wealth a little bit. I'll double check after. Oh, yeah, the Kings. I got them 2 in there in this series.
You already said Kings, I believe.
Did I? I'm sorry. Take 2.
But this is huge. This is a fun way to end it.
Absolutely.
Ian would have been going back and forth on this for a month now.
L.A., Edmonton, was it? Yeah. Game 1 Monday night tonight, 10 o'clock. Edmonton, pretty big favorite here, minus 225.
Way too big of a favorite.
I was thinking that too. Kings plus 185 during the season. They both went 2-2 against each other, so pretty even there if you put much stock in it. What? You just chimed in. We'll go right back to you with this one. What do you got?
Never been more excited. As an Oilers fan, everyone knows that's my team. I could not believe how big of a favorite they were. I understand you end the year on a 14-0-1 run, something that I don't think the Oilers have ever done leading into the playoffs. They look outstanding. It's a special time in that city, but if you're looking for value as a gambler, you take the LA Kings in a heartbeat. I mean, this team, here's what I'm going to say about this series. Not crazy going out on a limb. The winner of this series goes to the Stanley Cup final. I think both teams are really good. I think it's easily probably going to be one of the most, it will be the most entertaining first round with New York and New Jersey. I'm on the Oilers because everything has changed since Ekholm came over. I kind of went on my rant last week. It was a little too early. But I'm not at all comfortable. And I told Biz, I'm not scared. You acted like I should be petrified of the LA Kings. Well, I also know they could win this series. You got Deneau and Kopitar. Can they shut down the top forwards on Edmonton? I don't know. They neither one of them are fleet of foot, whereas the Oilers have team speed in bunches. The bottom 6 has been unbelievable. They got everyone back healthy. McLeod missed time, he's back. Fogle missed time, he's back. It's all about peaking at the right time. The Oilers have this special mojo. We saw one of the greatest seasons in NHL history by Connor McDavid. Seriously, he put himself on such a different level than even Crosby ever did in a regular season. Ovechkin never did something like this in a regular season. He's got the Rocket Richard. He's got the Art Ross. He's got the. He's going to get the Hart. I just think it's going 7 games, but this time Edmonton, well, actually they got to do it at home last time as well. They're going to get it done. They're going to get the win, but it's going to be a battle. And I think that they're going to split the first 2. They're going to split the next 2 in LA, and then it's bing bang. They probably win home game 5, Edmonton, lose on the road game 6, win game 7. It's going to be awesome, but it's the Oilers' time.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as confident as I was probably a month ago.
Well, we put a beating 2 games at the end on you.
Yeah, that's fine, but as you've mentioned, regular season means nothing. Edmonton has this mojo where I think that McDavid and Leon are going to do something very special. Based on the odds, it's clear that the league want them to win. So officiating,
He's getting ahead of this one already.
Look for officiating to be absolutely horrendous. Injuries coming in, not huge for LA. Not the fact that they haven't been playing
not good for LA, you mean?
Not good.
Yeah, you said not huge. Not good.
Not good at all. They got Edler, who was banged up, who may be coming back early. Fiala, who was out. And last week I thought it was Kaliev, but it was Velarde, the name I was thinking of. So not sure what the injury status is with those guys coming in, but obviously for a team that gets it done by committee, 3 huge pieces they're missing out of lineup, especially a veteran presence on the back end like Edler. I'm not confident. I'm going to say LA in 7. I still think they have an excellent team. I watched Kopitar's press conference. It's adamant that they know what the task is at hand. I want to say the word was optimistically confident was the word that he used, which I really fucking.
That's 2 words.
Well, words, plural.
Yeah, the phrase.
Which trying to fucking dummy me because I'm talking about the Kings right now. He's trying to get the upper hand. But I think that you would have to admit, not an ideal first-round matchup.
No.
In fact, a horrendous matchup to the point where you're saying it's going to go 7 games. I agree. I think LA ends up taking it. Not confident, though.
The other thing, I'm not going to give away the source. Merles knows him, but talking to people around the NHL, like coaches are actually really bullish on LA and how good they are. Apparently, they break the puck out better than any other team in the league. Somehow they've figured out a way to get out of their zone with ease. So that's going to be an issue.
They got Kopitar and Danault.
Yeah, but we have McDavid and Leon.
No,
and
that's
Nuge
why they're
and
good at
Hyman
breaking out. That's why they're good at breaking out. They're very responsible on their own end.
Yeah.
They come low and slow for their defensemen. They're good at swooping by and picking up the puck when their defensemen pin the guy
They're
against.
structured. They check well. They'll get in the way. Like
Well
they're hard.
coached.
And if you're maybe an East Coast fan, doesn't stay up late, watch a lot of West Coast, but you will now, watch Evan Bouchard play.
Yep.
He's a former, I think, 10th or 11th overall pick, a struggle of a year, and Ekholm comes over, and it's been game-changing for him. So this is a guy who now runs the power play with Barry gone, heavy shot, gets up in the rush. The Oilers are built to win a Stanley Cup. It sounds crazy, and it'll really come down to Skinner. People don't believe me, but I think the end of the season has proven this team is destined for greatness this year.
And Bob Stauffer came
Edmonton, Boston, my Cup final pick.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Bob Stauffer came
That was my preseason Cup final pick.
Was it?
Yeah, I said it before the season.
On Twitter, I believe their 12th forward hit the 10-goal mark in the last game of the season. So they had 12 forwards reach 10 goals. So I'm sure
that's what I was gonna
I've
say.
gotten 1,000 tweets about it because I mentioned and pumped LA's tires about having 10 guys. I wasn't taking anything away from Edmonton. I was just simply saying the depth is matched.
Yeah. I would just say this. I'll ride Witt's coattails with this. Just watching the Oilers all this time, and you're living and dying with them, Witty. I don't think they've ever been as deep, as solid, as good, as many weapons. Like, of course, Connor and Leon get talk. They've got Kane, they've got Nuge, they've got Hyman. They got guys that can play different ways, play harder. They're deeper. McLeod on the 4th line. They've got Janmark, a guy you just met. Like, these guys play hard games. They're fast. They're structured. They're deep. Ekholm put them over the top. Like, he's just a rock back there, cross-check king. Just can do it all, and kind of like has become the master of that decor.
It's helped out
Nurse
big time too.
Yeah, and then
he doesn't have to get those first line
and you talk
matchups.
about Skinner. Skinner's got to have a series. I think Skinner's capable of it. I just think like this is the best I've ever seen the Oilers look in years for Connor McDavid. Like always, kind of.
The time is now for the great ones.
I
to
just
do
think
it.
it's. I got Oilers in 6 games. Mark me down, Merles, but I think just the way the Oilers are built right now, the way they look, the way they play, there's always been that hole. There's always been, they can't defend, they suck at this, or they can't do that. And I just think this year they've got a lot of what they need.
Who you got, Mur?
Last night on the broadcast, Big Cat released his play of the year.
This was the only thing that could fuck me.
So worry about that. He took the Oilers to win the Cup because he wants Connor McDavid to be the greatest athlete that you guys always talk about.
Compared to his peers.
Yeah, so that, or I think he's trying to get in the hot tub before you. So he's taking Connor and the Oilers.
He'd take up the whole goddamn thing.
I love the Oilers. You remember last year, Draisaitl was hurt the whole time, and they still beat the
And he was
Kings.
still playing good.
Yep, and so I got Oilers. I'm going to say 7, though, because I do respect Kempe and the Kings.
My last thing before we get your guys' picks is the only thing that could happen is if somehow LA shuts down the greatest power play that anyone's ever seen, the greatest power play in NHL history. So if somehow they're able to shut that down, that could be the killer. I just don't think it's possible. When you watch a power play, you get the half-wall guy, you get the D-man up top. The Oilers don't even really have a power play. They all skate around everywhere. Bouchard stays up top for one-timers. Other than that, it's Hyman, Leon, Nuge, and McDavid playing no position, and it's unstoppable. Go ahead, all right. Sorry.
That's all right, buddy. I'm sorry, what, Edmonton and how many did you say?
I took them 7.
And 7, okay. I'm doing the same, Edmonton and 7. I think that Ekholm move was exactly what they needed. They didn't need necessarily a flashy defenseman, just a guy who gets it done on both ends. He's tough as nails on his own end. And Skinner's been playing well. I think he's had some soaring confidence. And, of course, the power play you've mentioned. I'm just basically biting all your shit here. Edmonton and 7. Gee, what do you got, buddy?
So the whole time you guys have been talking, I've been thinking about what I'm going to say, and I was going to pump the fact that I said Bruins Oilers preseason, that was my cup final pick. Witt just stole my fire. I'm not changing up. I still think Edmonton B's cup final. So I got Edmonton in 7 here. I think it's going to be close. You guys basically said it all.
Am I the only guy that went 6?
If I could agree that would be the final now, I'd take it. That would be an
what a Leafs fan you are.
Oh, fuck off. I'm saying for entertainment value to see McDavid and Leon go against the greatest team ever assembled in the regular season.
Sick. And they beat them in Boston.
Would be a great storyline going in.
Yeah, that wraps up for the playoffs. Any other? Merles, did you say you wanted to chime in on the Women's Worlds? Didn't you?
Yeah, that's the last thing. Today, it's Sunday. We got the Women's Worlds, another U.S.-Canada matchup. But this one's a little different this year. I was looking at the leaders, top scorers. U.S. top scorer, shout her out, Caroline Harvey from Wisconsin. And she went to that Bishop Kearney school. And that's where that 15-year-old phenom from Slovakia is going next year. So we're going to be able to get all those highlights. That girl scores all those highlight
goals. She's the McDavid of female hockey players.
Yeah, unbelievable. And then Canada's top scorer is, it's Sarah, but it's not Sarah Nurse. It's Sarah Fillier, who went to Princeton. So I thought that was interesting. 2 different girls on top, but that'll be a cool hockey game to tune into today. Or Sunday, sorry. So today for us, sorry, we'll know the score tomorrow.
Back to the future. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
That's it, but
we got to talk about the pizza maker.
Oh, yeah. I'll say last thing. I gave Biz a pretty good quote. He said, you got to say that on the pod. I read this recently. And you talk about the playoffs, and you talk about how excited we are as fans to get to watch this. I know everyone listening, watching it. And it's about being a warrior in the playoffs. I'm not at all trying to say that they're going to war. I know people get upset at that. But it's about being a warrior. It's about battling for your team, your city. And when you look back at Cup champs, it's guys who are able to battle through adversity, injuries, losing players, and losing tough games, and still always coming out on top. And the saying I saw was, fate whispers to the warrior, you can't handle the storm. And the warrior looks back and says, I am the fucking storm.
Wow. So ending it on that
So who's going to have the most warriors to get this thing done? It's a war of attrition. It's going to be an amazing 2.5 months, and we could not be happier to go 2 a week for the beginning and have game notes noon every single day, recapping the night before and giving picks for that night. It's an exciting time for us,
I'm going to get that quote tattooed on my ass cheek next to the devil's head. That's a fucking quote and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Woo-wee.
Big time.
And you can find that Game Notes Daily Show. That's starting Monday, the first day of the playoffs today. And you can find that on the Chiclets YouTube channel. I believe we're going to try and stream on TikTok and Twitter as well, but that's still stay tuned for that. But we'll definitely be on the Chiclets YouTube channel.
Last thing, Borrellis Pizza Maker, an iconic photo you sent me when you were going to the bathroom yesterday.
Yeah, so last night, it was about midnight, and I just walked by. I was texting Frank, and we were here. Thanks to Amanda, Mr. Borrelli, an amazing staff.
Unreal.
Great food. If you're in Long Island, get over here. But I was walking by to the bathroom, and I saw a guy just snoozing. He's against the wall, and he's dead asleep, and took a picture. It actually looks like a picture from the 50s. And
in the kitchen.
I said, Frankie, I love this guy. Who is this? And he said, dude, that's Loretto. 60 years of making pizza in this restaurant. His fingers are bent sideways. We figured out he's made over 1 million pizzas in his life.
How does this guy not have a merch line or something? It should be called Loretto's.
Every day for 60 years, this guy makes
All right, here comes Frankie.
Just let this guy stand at the door and greet people.
He doesn't know anything but pizza. You ask him, like, who's the president right now? He goes, what? Like, he doesn't know anything. Like, Laredo, you like music? He goes, like, music? Like, he doesn't know, like, the world. Like, if you say, like, what are those close a bit close? Like, he doesn't know the word. He doesn't know word. You know what I mean?
So he
like,
comes in around noon, and
he
then
just kind of shows up here. We don't even know how he we don't know anything about
They don't even pay him. He just shows up and makes pizza. He doesn't have like a...
And he just sleeps on the
money.
wall. He's just Loretto.
He's like, huh, money?
He has no
my favorite part about him, and
he's the pizza
I love
god.
Borrellis, like, it's my heart. It's who I am, and it's not like he's become like the greatest pizza maker of all time. Like, you make that many pizzas. pizza. He just makes like a good family style pizza. Like it's not. He never wanted to get better. He just does the same.
Loretto the robot.
Like you'd think he'd be like on fucking Food Network by now, making a million pizzas. No, he's just like, I'm making the same thing. I don't want a new.
He doesn't have
ingredient.
cable TV.
He has no idea that there's new shit out there. He's just like.
Has Dave Portnoy ever shook his hand?
Well, Dave came here to review a fucking pizza, and my dad kicked Laredo off the fucking pizza.
What?
You never heard this story?
Pizzas, and he didn't give him the biggest
My
one.
dad fumbled it. My dad pulled the starter in a fucking perfect game.
Why?
He brought in fucking.
This is true.
He brought in fucking Mariano against fucking Big Poppy.
And what happened?
Dave gave it a fucking 7-9, and I think he was being a little bit nice. He looked at it. He goes, "This is not the real pizza."
What was
is
your
it?"
dad's reason for pulling off his starter?
My dad was like, "I know." This is back in like the heat of the pizza review days. I was on the camera. My dad watched every single one, and he goes, "I know he likes them thin. I know he likes them crispy. I know he doesn't like the oil." He's like, "I'm gonna make it the way Dave likes it." But I'm like, "Dad, you gotta throw the fastball.
Yes.
You've been there since 1955. He gave him a new product.
I love,
and it sucked. It was like a Greek pizza. He cut it so much that none of the slices were touching it. It didn't even look like a pizza, dude. He legit.
Oh no!
And the best part is Loretto doesn't even know who Dave is.
He has no idea. So then that night I go home. I'm like, "Dad, what'd you do?" And he's sitting down in his couch and he goes, "I fucked up." He
panicked.
He panicked.
Those are the tough decisions coaches have to make.
You know,
It's like we made the Super Bowl, but Brady's not stuck.
Yeah, he fucking pulled Laredo.
How were Laredo's feelings after?
He has no idea.
He doesn't know.
He does. Okay.
He's like, "Can I go back in now?"
Yeah.
He just wants to go back to work.
Is it?
He'll walk
what were you
over,
doing?
He'll put some wine inside a little like a soda cup, and he'll just go back and make pizza.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
He always acts like he's like hiding it. He's like, "What was that?" And he's just like pouring wine into a cup. We're like,
You're like, we don't
I
care,
think
bud.
you
You've
just
made
have
a
a
million.
glass of wine.
I think he needs to become the theme of the streams maybe on this run as an apology.
We'll
He
bring
doesn't
him
even
out.
know what the internet is.
After every goal, he's out here spinning a pizza on the
Dude,
fucking
there was like
live cam.
3 or 4 years ago when my dad threw that chair on top of me when we were out in the patio. The Islanders lost. I think it was to the Canes. And Laredo like looked into the screen and like tapped it because he thought people were inside the screen. It was unbelievable. I gotta try and find that clip. It's insane. He was like, "Hello."
This guy, he's a pizza
I
maker.
love this guy.
Give him a
Thanks for coming, guys.
Give him
I
a
really
pizza.
No, thank you,
podcast.
buddy.
Frankie.
Thank you. And
Thank you. This is
thanks
awesome.
to everyone listening. We had a long episode. We appreciate you supporting us talking about the FDNY NYPD event. I know that's been a lot of our time and discussion's been leaning towards that, but now we're into the playoffs, and I think this was a great episode setting the stage.
And just once again, a big thank you to G, Sean, Elliot, and Mims, and the rest of everybody else at Barstool who helped make that a possibility. That was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had as a member of this podcast. We all played a hand in it. It's been awesome having Merles and Army on board as well, doing your guys' Chiclets game notes. I know there's more to come from a daily perspective all throughout playoffs, but we can't wait for this ride. It's going to be an awesome 8 weeks. I'm actually going to be starting TNT with Army the first couple broadcasts, and we're going to go on a fucking run here. We don't know where we're going to end up, and that's the beauty of it all. As Whit said, hopefully Merle's going to be fucking swimming on the craps table again. But overall, guys, let's go on a rip, and a great way to kick things off with the FDNY NYPD broadcast. And last thing, we cannot thank them for allowing us to be a part of it. The families, the individuals who played in the game, it was electric, and we cannot wait till next year. We're praying we get the rights to it to do it again.
And also, once again, we want to thank the staff at Jameson's, the staff at UBS, of course, Borrellis, Muggsy, Chevrolet, Pink Whitney, Big Deal Bruin, Wayne Gretzky, Labatt Blue, and again, to Jake Marsh as well, and Jeff D'Lo for helping out with the host. And it was a terrific job in the play-by-play with Jake. Great stuff. Awesome week, and I think that about wraps it, fellas.
Muggsy's new muse.
Oh, yeah.
RA, you're going to be a fucking model. You're going to be the new Kate Moss. I don't know if you could do as much blow as her, but you'll be up there.
By the way, I got 2 teams out west and 3 in the east. I got LA at 35-1, Winnipeg 60-1, 18-1 on the Bruins, 45-1 on the Islanders, and 40-1 on the Panthers. So, see what happens. A little something to root for. Doctor, I am Pagliacci. Let's go.